Zoobox, is that you?
What the fuck kind of name is that?
Yo, Zoobox, what it do, baby? It's your boy, Ari Spears here. Going to win, Zoobox, and persevere.
The Zoobox is working.
I don't know what Zoobox means. I don't get it. Is this just some, I mean, obviously it's a code name of some kind.
Zoobox is working, man.
He says you a trash rapper.
Man, I want to dress up like a bunny rabbit and fuck.
That's all I gotta tell you, Zoobox. Come on, man. Chin up, find a place to smile, right?
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Goes to the Movies Live. I'm your host, Shaun, and as always, my adopted son, Jeremy, has joined me. Tonight, we're going to be discussing Oscars 2024, a few other assorted news stories, and our main event, the biggest event, 1954's Ishiro Honda's Gojira. It's gonna be a wild show. It's gonna be so much fun. Can you imagine how entertaining it's gonna be watching Jeremy and I try to find something new to say about Godzilla? It's not really a review. It's kind of a misnomer to call it a review. It's like a Godzilla 1954 appreciation stream. That's kind of what it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, spoiler alert. Like, we're movie nerds. We like Godzilla. You know. So look forward to that, everybody. How's it going, Jeremy? How you been? It's been a couple weeks. After you were traumatized during the 4.5 hour Turtles extravaganza, which we still got to do a part 2 of at some point. So how you been?
I've been hanging in there. You know, I'm still kind of in Turtles mode, but you know, it's good to take a little bit of a break to cover a different reptile, a different amphibian, maybe, if you want to call them that. As appropriate for the show. You know, I think you picked a really good one here because long history with Godzilla. I think everybody has like their own like origin story when it comes to Godzilla, but I'm really excited to be back on and to talk about it and other stuff.
And dive into everything big Hollywood, right? That's where you come to. You come to Goes to the Movies to find put your finger on the pulse of what's going on in the moment right now. Yeah, so I mean, I haven't really been doing much, just watching a couple movies here and there. Not as many as I used to. Like 2024 has been a very slow movie watching year for me, which is crazy because as soon as I decided to do this, like I stopped watching movies.
Shaun, do you know what's happening tomorrow that I just like completely missed out on? I didn't see any ads for it at all, but apparently Joe Bob is back doing his show again tomorrow on Shudder. I didn't know he was going to do it so soon, and I'm like, well, now I've got a list of horror movies that I haven't seen that I got to watch with his commentary again, over again.
Yeah, Joe Bob is coming back already, and yeah, it seems like maybe it's just we're just busy now, and we just didn't notice as much, but the turnaround felt very quick. And I believe it's a pre-recorded live event that they held. They did a live event with I know Bruce Dern is there and somebody else that was involved. Is it Roger Corman?
I believe so. Yeah,
he's still alive, dude. Isn't that crazy?
He's like almost about to hit like mid-90s at some point. Yeah,
that's a fucking devil worshiper. That guy.
Yeah.
Come on. Trembling's in the chat already. Says, man, I probably should have watched this movie. I haven't seen any of the old Godzilla movies. Well, definitely you're going to be... Maybe we'll entice you to watch it through our commentary. It's like such a known quantity at this point. Like, you can't really spoil it so much.
Yeah.
It's been so influential. And this is the perfect time to talk about it, too, because going back to... There's never been a better time to go back to the 1954 one coming off of the tail, if you will, of Godzilla -1, which is kind of, we're going to talk about it, but I didn't realize like how much it is like a remake of the original Godzilla. Yeah. I kind of for some reason had just didn't like register immediately. But anyways, we're going to get there, everybody. We're going to get to everybody. So like I said, in terms of what I've been watching, I haven't been watching too much. I did revisit Creepshow though. George Romero, Stephen King, the old anthology movie from back in the 80s. I got the Scream Factory 4K, Apparently, Walmart is going to be like the only place that sells physical media now. So all of those cool steelbooks that used to go to like Best Buy and stuff are now just going to become Walmart steelbooks. They've already made like a deal with a few companies, and I picked it up there. I picked up the steelbook. I don't even like steelbooks, and I own like 50 of them. The transfer is gorgeous. Movies never look better. And it's a fun movie. You know, it's one that I oftentimes kind of forget about. I don't know why. It's just was not something I grew up with. I kind of came to it later. But in terms of like anthology movies, most of the segments are actually land pretty well, which is not normal. Usually there's like, you'll be like, oh, there's one or two, but you can sit and watch that whole movie. And have you ever like rewatched like when you watch like Body Bags or something, the John Carpenter one, and you're kind of like, you feel like you have to eat your vegetables a little bit. Like, all right, I got to get through this one before I get to the good ones, you know?
Well, I always think about like what preceded it and then like what came after as well. Cause so that was Creepshow was 82, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
And then Twilight Zone movie comes out like the year after. And then I grew up with Trilogy of Terror from the 70s, which is also a different kind of anthology with Karen Black.
Karen Black. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, there's always like a different kind of, mood, and then you got Tales from the Crypt that also kind of jumped on that. Yeah,
100%. Basically, just I mean, I know that there was a Tales from the Crypt comic book, the EC comics from like the 50s and 60s and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it just rode that wave right into HBO, and then they had their own show, which I actually kind of a fan of that show, even though I don't think most of them are very good.
No.
I still enjoy watching them.
They're fun, at least. Yeah.
They're always fun, but there's a few that are actually legit pretty good. In fact, I would tell people that if they were going to check out Tales from the Crypt, check out the pilot. Like the first 2 episodes are bangers.
Yeah.
It's the one it's the one with the killer Santa Claus is like one of the first ones, and then there's the one about the guy who gets he gets put on death row. And it's like basically the whole episode's like a giant monologue. As he's like kind of explaining his life and how he ended up in the electric chair. It's pretty good.
Yep.
Tremling says, found a friend, did you, Harry? Tremling also says the British anthology movies from the Amicus in the 70s are hit and miss, but there are some great visuals.
Yes. I think I know what you're talking about, Trembling.
I mean, I'm pretty unfamiliar with that stuff. Like that's something I should maybe I'll spend some time this year, this spooky season, go down like an anthology road. Just watch a ton of these anthology films I've never seen. Like, I don't even know if I've ever seen the one with Karen Black, the one that you were talking about.
Yeah, I think you could just watch it for free on like Tubi or YouTube.
Oh,
right
yeah.
now.
Yeah, it's a Tubi. It's definitely a Tubi movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, just go in knowing that the first 2 shorts are not great, but the third one with I'll just say the Zuni Warrior, I won't say anymore, just like it's gold. Even for made for TV, like this is like before Chucky and all these other like stop motion effects. It's just it's really cool.
Yeah, I love the texture and the feeling of those kinds of movies too, because I watched a lot of 70s television shows growing up. Like, you know, I've briefly mentioned it before. Maybe we'll cover it someday here on the old Ghost of the Movies Live. But Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stuff like Columbo, The $6 Million Man, The Bionic Woman. So I actually really have a thing for the aesthetic and feel of like 70s television and TV movies. So I probably would really enjoy it. I get a kick out of it. Trembling says, Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Terror are the 2 big ones. Monster Club is another late one. Yeah. The Monster Club. Definitely have never seen that. Definitely have never seen that one. What about you, Jeremy? Have you watched anything other than Godzilla?
Theatrical stuff. I did get around to seeing Dune 2 recently.
Oh, did you actually? You went? Because I know you weren't a big fan of the first one. You just kind of like not your thing, but.
Well, I went back and revisited the first one, and I appreciated its at the very least, like the production quality of it a lot more.
Yeah.
I'm still just like so sour when it comes to the characters, though. They're just too cold and distant.
They are.
And maybe that's the point. I don't know. But apart from that one quality of this sequel that I didn't care for as much either, I thought this was way better than the first one.
Yes, it's where all the story is.
Right. It's just like I thought it's like we had like a 2.5 hour long teaser for
Yes.
this. You know?
Yeah, no, it's kind of crazy because the first one is like slow. It's like glacially. It's like watching one of those ships, those giant ships, just go across the landscape for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But like this one is it's almost indulgent. Like it's just so much shit's happening and it's so big and it's so like always giving you some kind of new event is happening just constantly. And
I came and I saw and I went to my little worm bucket. It was great.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you get to see it on IMAX or did you just go to a regular screen?
I just went to a regular screening, actually. Yeah. So,
well, but what did you think of it? Did you enjoy it for what it was, like the spectacle, the cinematic experience?
Yeah, I'd say so. I would want to revisit it though, because I do have like a soft spot for the David Lynch movie more than these movies.
Oh, do you really? Man, motherfucker, I was going to ask you before Dune Part 2 came out, I was going to suggest we do David Lynch's Dune. And I thought for some reason, I'm like, oh, he doesn't like that shit. Like, he doesn't like Dune. So I didn't want to make you watch like a 2.5 hour sci-fi movie that I know most people find boring.
Right.
But now I know that you like it. We'll have to do it in the future. That'd be fun.
Absolutely. I would be down. Yeah.
Trembling says, what are your guys' view on Creepshow 2? Dude, I don't know if I've ever seen Creepshow 2. I can't ever remember it. I know what the box art looks like, and I used to see it on cable, but for the life of me, cannot remember it.
It's okay. It's done by mostly the same people involved with the first one, but the stories just aren't as strong. But I remember liking it okay it was so many years ago when I watched it, back when it was free on YouTube, like every movie was.
Yeah.
But I never saw Creepshow 3, and I don't care as much for the Shudder series right now. It's too...
Yeah, there's like occasionally there's a good one.
Yeah.
Like actually when they do direct adaptations of Stephen King stories, they're usually okay.
Yeah.
Like Gray Matter, they did Gray Matter, which I thought was pretty good. They did that one that was animated. I think Kiefer Sutherland did the voice, the guy that's on the island. Or it's like maybe that's a Joe Hill story.
Yeah.
Something like that. One of those the Kings did it.
Yeah.
The soy boy cucks.
That's
okay.
Yeah, what Creepshow doesn't have is a cool sound design like that. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. We got multiple roars. We got 2 roars. Tremlick says you two should do a show on the fan edit of Lynch's Dune. Actually, that's probably what we would do. We do the was it the Spice Runners cut or whatever his name is. Whatever he calls himself. It's on YouTube. It's like 3 hours long. It takes all of the deleted material and mixes it back in the film. And the guy did a really good job on it. I actually watched it. Like I was so high on Dune shit. For some reason, I'm like all in on Dune. I'm like reading the second book. I watched the theatrical Dune one because I have the Arrow 4K.
Right.
And then I went and watched the Spicer cut like a couple weeks ago, or not a week, or like last week or so. Like just put it on. I was like, oh, I'm going to bed. I'm going to put this on. And then just watch the whole thing until like 4 a.m, like a retard.
Sure.
But yeah, actually I was thinking about I was seriously thinking about just watching it on stream. I was like, there's going to be one night where I have like to do 2 nightcaps where I'm like, I don't want to do a second nightcap.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just watch David Lynch's Dune, this fan edit of it.
Well, that was the other weird thing I'll just quickly mention is that like going into Dune Part 2, my only frame of reference is Lynch's movie. I still have never read the book, so I'm a little bit more blind to a lot of the story even now and some of the references that get made because my audience was like was gasping at points and like pointing at the screen like, hey, I know that, and I'd be like, what? Yeah.
Well, it was cool. Like it was the best theatrical experience I've had in years. Like going to see it because it was people that like wanted to be there and they were locked in. And then I had like both of my brothers subsequently have seen the movie over the past few weeks. So I was like, so what was your screening like? Like, what were the people like? It's like, dude, people were having like a blast. People were like really enjoying it. Which is weird because it's kind of a darker movie, but it does have kind of a populist vibe to it. And even its kind of nihilistic edge really speaks to the moment right now, I think, for a lot of people. Because it's an anti-hero story in a certain way. It's like about false prophets.
Yep.
I mean, Lynch's Dune completely changes that. It actually gives you just like, oh, Paul Atreides is a hero and he saves everybody at the end. Mm-hmm. Like that's not how the story goes, everybody. Just so everyone knows. Okay, you want to be cool like us, Be getting into the edgy shit. Trembling says that fan edit and the Tolkien cut of The Hobbit that puts them together and cuts all the non-book nonsense are the best fan edits. Yes, I've seen the Tolkien cut of The Hobbit. It does what it can. There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
You know what's? I'm such a sick fuck, dude. Like, because I buy, like as we all, it's been well established. I buy a lot of movies. And I have like an OCD thing with movies sometimes where I'm like, well, I own all the extended Lord of the Rings. Like I have to own all of the Hobbit extended cuts for movies I didn't even like. And I subjected myself to more of it. Explain this to me. I don't know. What kind of mental illness is this? But anyways, I own all of the fucking extended versions of The Hobbit. I think I've watched them once. But although I think I really bought them because I wanted the appendices. I wanted the making ofs.
Yeah.
Because they are exceptional. Even going all the way back to the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, if you go get those extended cut, now Blu-rays or 4Ks, like the supplements are really good. Really good. Very detailed.
I might have to consider doing that because I have already done 2 recent just like blind purchases of the extended editions of at least part 1s and part 2s of The Hobbit because I'm also a little bit of a sick fuck. I don't know why I did.
Well, I think when you're as big of movie nerds as we are, and like kind of wannabe filmmaker types, we watch these things for different reasons. We're not watching them for normie reasons. We're not watching it because it's like, oh, I'm going to watch this movie. I'm going to and shut my brain off and be entertained for a couple. It's like, no, I'm going to listen to the commentary. I want explain yourself, please. Like, let's see, why did we make these decisions?
Yeah, I want to crack down on like what went wrong and what could have worked. Get to the bottom of it.
Dude, I remember back when I was a teenager, I bought the remake of The Stepford Wives. So, because Frank Oz did a commentary, and I didn't, and it was it was not a good movie, and I knew it wasn't a good movie. But I had to hear that commentary, and back then you had to buy the movie. Like people weren't ripping audio commentaries and putting them online like they do now. Nowadays, you can just look up audio commentaries on YouTube, man. They'll all come up.
Right.
You listen to them like podcasts. It's a lot of fun.
Okay? Oh yeah.
Trelling says because the behind the scenes stuff with The Hobbit is much better than the movies. Yes, it's dude. Have you ever watched the behind the scenes of those extended Hobbit movies?
Oh yeah, my favorite portion is all those scenes they were doing with Christopher Lee, and at some point like they had to like shut down the set, and he was just sitting down and giving war stories for like an hour.
In the Hobbit one, it was Gandalf's emotional breakdown is Trembling says yes. Ian McKellen literally like loses his mind. He's like, I can't fucking do this. Is not acting. This is awful. What are we doing? Like, because you got to think of Ian McKellen's like this old guy. He's by himself on a fucking set. It's just so not an environment to like put you in the headspace of anything.
Yeah.
I would never say that acting is like the hardest job in the world. It's not like working in a mine or something.
Yeah.
But the tedious nature of it, and I was reminded of that today as I was making a little short film with my son. He didn't quite understand, like, part of movie magic is doing the same thing 50 times.
Yep.
He didn't, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't occur to kids or to most people. They don't think about that. And if you think about an old man having to fucking hold on to a fake tree as somebody's shaking, like as a machine is shaking it, talking to a tennis ball while you're trying to concentrate and be in the moment, and there's crew guys walking around all around you. There's lights. It's in the middle of the day, even though they're going to make it look like it's at night. Like there's no effort to like set the mood. It's gotta be hard. It kind of makes like Hayden Christensen's performance in those Star Wars prequels. They make a lot more sense when you realize like, oh, they were like just literally just on treadmills in front of green screens the entire time.
And the shocking part though too is that like it's coming from mostly the same people. And it's just like how like they shifted like where they're like a George Lucas type, and then Peter Jackson slowly but surely just we'll just do it in post. There's no craft as much anymore, and it's just it gives it that hollow on set feeling, and everybody like you said kind of looks awkward, doesn't quite know what they're doing.
No, it's just these big tentpole movies, the way they make them are so like inorganic at this point. It's just kind of gross.
Yeah.
It's kind of gross. It's not fun for anybody. I apologize to the Rumble chat. We got Hagbert over here. He says Monster Club is great. Well, I have to check that out. I'm not even sure I've ever heard of Monster Club, so I will definitely check it out though. And then Prophet Aries Spears, you mean co-star of the classic comedy satire Josie and the Pussycats? Well, of course. Who else? He also says Dune 2. That's not a hill I'd Zendaya on. That's a good one. I appreciate and approve this dad joke. Aeneas Tinker says, I'm just going to put it on the screen because I don't want to repeat it so anybody can clip me like a weirdo. So everybody just drink that in. Prophet says, this is where all the cool kids are chatting. I'll just pour all my chats over from Rumble. He says, well, it's asking a person to do their art completely by themselves, having to do it all from what you imagine is going to be on the scene eventually. No, I know that. It's just, I can imagine that sucking. And then I can imagine being 80 years old and doing it, and how much even more that would suck. How far are you removed from your days at the Royal Shakespeare Theater? Fucking, right. You have like a skinny Peter Jackson waving a fucking ball at you. Sir Ian, look, it's a bird.
And not only that, but like that was also doing those Hobbit movies. That was like the start of like Peter Jackson becoming slowly senile. Like you watch any interview with him on any like Zoom chat or podcast, like he's ready to pass out.
I was gonna say he always looks so tired.
Yeah.
Like I remember like watching the appendices for the old movies, like the old making ofs, and him just like laying on a couch, just like staring at the monitor, being like, let's just roll it back. I fell asleep. Prophet says, did Ian McKellen actually cry on the set of The Hobbit, or is that a rumor? No, he actually cried. No, it's on camera. Like, I think you can look him up on YouTube. If you just look up like the making of The Hobbit or Hobbit appendices. I know that the Lord of the Rings appendices are all up on YouTube because I've watched them. Even though I own them, like I was too late. I didn't want to go get the discs. Now, you know what's really sucks? You know, it's another thing as being a movie collector that really blows now that we're like in the midst of another kind of format change to 4K and digital and stuff. I have to keep my Blu-rays of the Lord of the Rings trilogy because the 4Ks that I bought do not have all of the special features. And this drives me crazy because those special features are priceless. It's some of the best. Like if you want to see somebody make a movie like that, like at that kind of scale and get every single detail. I mean, it's like 12 hours long.
Yeah.
It's awesome. When I was a teenager, dude, I watched that thing on the reg. Like I watched that more than the movie. Mm-hmm. I was just like way more into like how they did it. So now I have multiple copies of Lord of the Rings. The fuck am I going to do? Everybody's going to be laughing at me. Be like, what do you own this? Then I have to sit there and I have to explain it to them. And then they look at me like I'm a psycho. Like, don't you understand? Don't you get it? Yeah. I have to have this.
Yeah.
They're like, well, are you ever going to watch them again? Probably not. That's not the point. You don't get it.
I just have to. It's the collector's mentality. You have to have it, even if you never consider it as part of your life ever again.
Nope. It just goes up. It goes up on the shelf for posterity, and then every once in a while, I just look over. I can't wait on one of these off weeks that we're not doing this. I'm gonna alphabetize my collection on stream. It's gonna be like a 12-hour stream. I have to like find a day, or I have to like get the kids out of the house or something. I have to like, I got it because I'll just have to do it on the fly. I'll do it with my new phone, my new fancy phone.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be an awesome stream because it's gonna be 12 hours of me basically talking like a crazy, just like I'm doing right now, like an insane person.
You know, there's some cliched movie review esque videos that I will still do or still succumb to, but I'm never doing that. I couldn't.
You can't alphabetize. I used to have them in a way
on
like,
camera.
On camera, yeah, no, because that's a special thing.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I used to, before I had kids and stuff, I would like pay way more attention to their organization. For some reason, I've had them broken down by studio. I've had them broken down by genre. I've never alphabetized though. So I'm thinking That might be and now, because I own so many movies now, I almost have to do that. I sometimes cannot find things. And after 20 minutes of looking through your shit and you can't find it, it's a little frustrating. Yeah. I've been going off of like photographic memory for years, and now it's not good enough. My photographic memory is not good enough anymore. So I don't remember that, like, oh yeah, out of the corner of my eye as I was walking past it 3 months ago, I noticed Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within right there. So I know where it is. No, now I'm going to spend 20 minutes looking for it. Right. And then it's going to be in the last place I look, because it's going to be in a place that I was like, it's definitely not going to be there. It's probably over here. Nope. It was where I said it wouldn't be. Trummick says, yeah, it's the primary reason I hate CGI. The actors having to react to nothing most of the time. Totally agree. Trummick says, sometimes special features from DVDs didn't make it to Blu-rays even. Then you have director's commentaries that were laser discs but didn't make it to DVDs. Yeah, no, that's something that happened all the time. Thankfully, there are, like I said, there's lots of YouTube channels that have archived a lot of that stuff. And I'm pretty sure it's like the only form that they exist in outside of, the original printing. Right. Prophet says, when the collector bug bites, it sinks in its teeth. Imagine an adult man considering spending up to $100 on a doll because it comes with a little yellow raincoat. Fuck, do I understand. I know you do, buddy. But that's, it's totally worth it.
Got to see how many Judith Hoag movies we have on our shelves.
Yes, exactly. Let's all go counter Judith Hoag films. As we know, the only other movie I watched recently was The Other Guys. I rewatched The Other Guys, and I enjoyed it. It's a funny movie. Like it's so hard to review comedies, because at some point you're just like recanting the funny parts,
right? And
that's not fun. that's lame as fuck. Trummick says, got to have that Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within, and Titan AE double feature, huh? No, I own those on separate discs, okay? Don't be a disgusting bundle buyer, okay? I'm just joking. Well, I do own them separately, but that's not because I'm a snob like that. Some people are like that. Some people that collect, they're like, well, yeah, I could get all the Jurassic Park movies in this box set, but I want individual boxes. So I will spend way more just to get the individual boxes. Tremlick says, maybe a Heavy Metal 2000 rewatch. I rewatched Heavy Metal 2000 a couple years ago because I bought the 4K for the original Heavy Metal, which is a gorgeous 4K, by the way. If you have a 4K player, you should totally do it. It's usually you can get it for like $10 too, but it's just gorgeous. They did such a good job with it. And I rewatched that, and that's really funny. It's actually what stars Julie Strain, Kevin Eastman's ex-wife. I think she died? There was a rumor that she died. But anyways, Kevin Eastman, creator of the Ninja Turtles, is one of the co-writers, co-producers of Heavy Metal 2000. I meant watching them back to back. Well, that's true. Prophet says, bundle buyer is such a great nerd insult. It is. You can walk up to somebody and be like, oh, what are these bundles? These 3-packs? Gross. You know what I say to that? Godzilla Roar, number 2. Disgusting. Anyways, did you watch anything else in the interim, Jeremy?
I'm trying to remember. If anything, it was just like revisiting stuff. I'd have to quickly go through my. I don't want to waste too much time going through my old list. But I haven't been watching a whole lot. It was mostly just getting other things done, edits done, and catching the Oscars really, and catching.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what? Just catching up on movies I missed that were Oscar nominated. Because I saw a couple other ones too.
Which ones did you see?
Anatomy of a Fall. I did.
I wanted to see. You didn't like it. I wanted to see it, but. What was wrong with it, Jeremy? Is it because it's got a woman?
Well, of course. No. It was a slog, really.
I just hate the French.
And the French are boring when they do court dramas. I just wasn't really into it. There was a little bit of like a pandery political edge to it that I didn't really care for, but
is there a believe all women thing in this? I know she's like, isn't she on trial for whether or not she intentionally murdered her husband? Is that what it is?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Aeneas Tinker says Julie Strain is indeed dead as of 2021. Okay, so she's actually dead. There was actually a rumor that she was dead before she was dead. So now I'm glad we have Aeneas Tinker, our man, on the scene. Probably was there at her deathbed, right next to her. Trembling says, more than just wrote the movie, the nerd guy in Heavy Metal 2000 is an entirely self-insert character for Kevin Eastman, who owned Heavy Metal magazine at the time and was married to Julie Strain, who is dead. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. He owned it at the time. Oh, wow. I guess I forgot about it.
That's wild.
It's starting to come back to my mind because that was a big thing when that came out. That was a Stars Pictures original, the movie channel Stars. And when I was a kid, we had Stars at my house. And I saw the promo for that like over and over and over again. And luckily my parents were actually like out of the house. I was like watching the kids. I had to make everybody go to bed so I could watch Heavy Metal 2000 and probably jerk off.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I guess that's all we've been watching. I was gonna watch Poor Things because it's on Hulu now. I still want to. I got to see Poor Things, and I want to watch Zone of Interest. Did you? And you said you had another one you saw. What else did you see?
It was just like some of the shorts I missed too. Because usually I make a tradition of doing the Oscar nominated short films, and then sometimes the documentaries as well. I skip out usually on the animation. I used to do animation when I was younger, but nowadays I'm just not as into them.
You don't like watching Disney movies? You too good?
Yeah,
for whatever the latest, the hottest Pixar drop is. I don't even know what was it. The Boy in His Heron? Isn't that what
that one? That was the only one I was kind of curious on. And
yeah, it's Miyazaki, so you're like, yeah.
But yeah, nothing else really appeals to me. So yeah, just kind of catching up on those. I need to see Zone of Interest. I think that's the only other major one that and Maestro I haven't seen. So
I saw Maestro. Oh, yeah. Let me tell you what. We'll talk about it when we talk about the movies. Yeah. When we get into the winners and losers. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I can't remember now. I lost my train of thought once again. There you go.
Well, that takes care of that. So our first news story here is from the Wrap. Yes. Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama dies at 68. His manga and anime franchise remains one of the best known around the world. Yep.
Talk about a manga and anime that united everybody in some way.
Kind of, yeah. All races, colors, creeds. Everybody kind of likes, or at least, at the very least, will tolerate Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
At the very least, they'll tolerate it. They'll be accepting of it. It's mainstream enough. And that really comes from its time on Cartoon Network. That's like what Toonami really kind of broke Dragon Ball out into the mainstream. Have you ever watched Dragon Ball? Is there anything you've ever even cared about?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, I grew up watching it. I mean, all of my friends did too, and like, we'd go over to each other's places, and we would even, kami each other like at the playground or at recess and whatnot. It was just kind of like it was always kind of ingrained in our childhood growing up. My mom did not like the show because she thought it was just full of a bunch of like angry faces all the time and grunts and yeah, it is essentially that. But
it is that, yeah.
But that's why a lot of us loved it, Just
oh yeah, it's high drama, it's soap opera stuff for kids, right? Because it's like there's this fight that goes on for 4 episodes.
Yeah.
And it's always, and they're always ending on the cliffhangers. And some of the most nostalgic parts of watching Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z for me is next time on Dragon Ball Z. Like that's, I love that. I love that. Yeah. And I've tried to get my kid into it. He didn't really take to it very much. We even went to go see the last movie they did. So Dragon Ball Superheroes. We went to the theater to see it, and it was a lot of fun, actually. It was a pretty kick-ass Dragon Ball movie, if I do say so.
Sweet.
It's like an Elseworlds. I think it's like an Elseworlds tale, like when they make movies that kind of don't involve themselves that much with the continuity.
Right.
As long as you kind of have an understanding of who the characters are, you can watch it. And it was a lot of fun. Really big. If you're into anime and just cool anime fights, like it's well worth your time.
Yeah.
Well worth your time. Trembling says, I like all the Mexican Dragon Ball Z Catholic crossover art I've seen lately since the guy died. Dude, yeah. They were like having parades, like weeb parades in Mexico for...
They worship the show and everything about it down there. It's like its own culture, its own religion.
Yeah. Prophet says, I am so happy that I was born when I was. I missed anime by an eyebrow hair. I remember Pokemon coming first, and I was just old enough to be like, this is incredibly gay. By the time DBZ came, I was inoculated. Trump says, same. I was never into anime as a kid. I'm very selective about my anime, and yeah, like 'cause I'm about Prophet's age. I was too old for Pokemon, but I have younger brothers, so I was around it. I don't even think I've ever like watched an entire episode of the anime Pokemon.
Yeah,
No interest. Like I grew up watching it on a Sci-Fi Channel. Like that's where my anime consumption came from. So I was watching like Akira and Vampire Hunter D, and
it's definitely leaned slightly more, I guess, to my generation. I have vague memories of when the Pokemon the movie did come out. I was too young to like go out to the theater, I think, to see at the time, but I remember like the video sales doing like really well.
Yeah, it was everywhere. I mean, it was a phenomenon.
Yeah,
I think my brothers were into it for like 10 minutes, like enough to own some Pokemon cards and like maybe take them on the bus a couple times. But that was kind of it. Like I said, I never got into it. My wife is kind of into it. Like she plays the games, even still to this day. Yeah, which is really embarrassing for me.
My stepmom's the same. She's still really into like at least like the first and second generation Pokemon. Like she can name like 50. I'm like, wow, okay.
Whatever, loser.
Yeah, come on.
No, I mean, for me, anime has always been more about like movies and stuff. TV shows, very selective. Like I liked Neon Genesis Evangelion, Berserk. Right. I mean, Berserk is something literally anybody could watch and probably get into. It's very Western.
Right.
Trigun. I guess I watched the Trigun show. But yeah, I'm not like just anything anime I will consume. I can't do that. In fact, I find most of it pretty bad. Although nowadays it's all geared towards Americans.
Well, yeah, and there's a reason why I think a lot of anime is still succeeding and doing better than most, Western cartoons or even just like if you want to compare comic books and manga, it's just like because these are more relatable stories than the stuff they're doing right now here.
Well, it's because it's actually honestly like they have that show which is actually not bad, and I've watched a lot of it. It was Attack on Titan.
Yeah,
that was kind of a very big popular one, and it's something that kind of can cross generationally because like if you're an adult, it's kind of like it's got enough adult stuff in it. If you're like a teenager or a kid, like so it's fun to watch it with like the kids and stuff, but it's very Western. Like it's not very anime. It's like we used to make cartoons like that in the U.S. that we just don't anymore because now all we make is stuff that's basically trying to like groomer, like low key, like queer coded groomer stuff. Like that's mostly what I see out there for like modern cartoons. It's it's a bummer.
Are you saying there's something wrong with shows like Big Mouth and Velma, Sean?
Well, those are not, those are okay because those are for adults. Yeah. But like once you get into like Steven Universe and Adventure Time, which are actually shows for adults, but they are, but kids, but they put them.
But with children in mind when making them.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's a bunch of fucked up Cal Arts people that, this is the only, and I'll be fair, animation has a long history of having weirdos subversively putting weird shit in their cartoons. Like it's not anything new. Nowadays, it's just not even subversive. It's just the surface text. It used to be subtext. Now it's just at the surface. Now it's just there. And at least back in the day, it was just about dudes being horny. Like it was all horny coded back in the day. Go watch like old Don Bluth things or the guy who did what's his name? Not Frazetta. Frazetta did the cover for Ice and Fire.
Oh, right.
Bakshi.
Ralph Bakshi.
Ralph Bakshi. Yeah, there's tons of goofy shit in those, but they're awesome. Ice and Fire rules.
Yes.
Tremley says, anime I got into somewhat as an adult, but luckily it didn't hit me young where it affected what got my dick hard. Exactly. There you go. Prophet says, I remember writing in my notebook that I distinctly hated Pokemon, Hanson, and Jonathan Taylor Thomas. The girl I liked JTT. Tremlick says, I'm into Lupin the Third, and I'm reading the Berserk manga right now. Tremlick says, Dan, you thought the youngest home improvement son was cool as fuck in his goth phase on the show. Oh, Dan definitely did, because he identified with him. Basically the same person. Lupin the Third, I've always really wanted to check it out. I really liked the movie with the castle, the Caligostro or something. I have the movie, and it's pretty good. I have never gotten into it past that. The Berserk manga is fantastic. The anime series from 1997 is fantastic. It's actually finally coming over, getting a U.S. release.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been out of print since DVDs back in like the mid 2000s. So finally, we're getting it. We're gonna get it in HD, even though I've been watching it on YouTube for years. I will now own it for some reason because I have to. It's how I'm like what's his name? Like Mel Gibson in Conspiracy Theory. Have you ever seen that?
Long time since I've watched it, but definitely like due for a rewatch.
You know when he's like, because he has to buy, you find out that like a trigger thing is buying Catcher in the Rye for all of these Manchurian candidates. I have to buy it to feel normal. That's how I feel. All right, everybody. Now let's get into the Oscars. So you watched the Oscars. I did not watch the Oscars.
Half of them, technically, but I saw all the results by the end that I missed. I came in kind of late. It was like definitely like at the halfway point when I think by a certain point Oppenheimer had just been sweeping. It was really just getting like award after award after award at that point.
Yeah.
Which I was actually really okay with because
me too.
I was, I having come, they made my top 10 and I thought, Nolan overall and crew, like they definitely, I think at some point just, they deserve their due. Like it was always building up to this at some point in some way.
At least it wasn't like a cumulative award where they're like, yeah, we fucked you over a bunch of times, so here's one. Like Oppenheimer is I think is a pretty substantial cinematic achievement. Whatever quibbles I have with it, like narratively and some of its liberties with history that it takes, I think just like technically it's kind of a masterpiece.
Oh,
it's perfectly paced. It's like,
especially compared to last year's win, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm like, I'll take it. Just.
Oh my God. I really hate that movie.
I do too.
I've tried to like it too. I gave it like another shot. I think I've seen it 3 times. And one of those times was with commentary. And let me see. Prophet, he kind of takes the thunder. He took the words right out of my mouth. He says, "I ain't watched the Oscars. They white." That's true. Oscars so white. I was waiting for it to return because it was a very white night at the Oscars.
Yeah.
Everybody that won was a white guy. Or gal.
Irish.
The Oscars
good
were
year for the
colonized.
Irish.
Good year for the Irish, yeah, it's true. And the gingers.
Yeah.
So we got here. Let's see here. Best Picture, Oppenheimer, which we just discussed. I'm glad it won. I think it is the right choice, especially considering the other movies that were also up for Best Picture: American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie. I forgot that Barbie was nominated for why? Anyways, The Holdovers. Killers of the Flower Moon and Maestro. Killers of the Flower Moon would be the other one that I would have wanted to win. Had Oppenheimer not been there, I would have been pulling for Killers of the Flower Moon. If Oppenheimer wasn't there, The Holdovers would have won. I guarantee you.
You predicted it so well, though, from the first Ghost of the Movies episode. They really just did Scorsese so dirty. Just
They always do though. They
always
did
do
for
that,
years, dude. I mean, when he finally wins didn't he win for Goodfellas, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that comes after like Taxi Driver and Raging Bull and that was like an apology. I mean, not to say that Goodfellas is not worthy. It is totally worthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. Let me see here. Best directing, Christopher Nolan, like we said. I didn't see his speech. Did you watch his speech?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I didn't know this until this recent award show that his wife has been producing all of his movies pretty much.
Yeah.
And they both gave speeches.
Yeah, because she did the Best Picture speech, didn't she?
Right.
Because she's the producer.
Mm-hmm.
Trump says, speaking of white, Sweeney's Milkers in that white dress. That's true. Sydney Sweeney's Milkers were out once again. Wrecking us all. Bringing us to the farm. Trellick says, we haven't commented on a woman's look yet. Slipping. This is true. We have not mentioned somebody's looks yet, so thank you, Trembling, for coming in. Sydney Sweeney, a solid 7.5.
Yep.
Let's be controversial.
But speaking of Best Actress,
Speaking of Best Actress, so we kind of predicted this. If people want to go back, it is on the record. We said Emma Stone will probably win because it would be funny because of Lily Gladstone clearly wanting it so bad. Because Lily Gladstone was not just running or trying to win for herself. She was claiming the entire Osage nation. Like it was for them. So for Emma Stone to come in at the 11th hour and win is hilarious.
yeah.
It's fucking hilarious. She was against Annette Bening, Lily Gladstone, Sandra Hüller, and Carey Mulligan. I have not seen Poor Things yet. The more I hear about it, the less I want to see it. That's why it's taken me a second to even. It's been on Hulu for like 2 weeks, and I still just haven't hit play yet.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Everybody is like interpreting the movie from like all different ends, and it all is just kind of bullshit at the end. It's just like Barbie in a way. It's just kind of just it's one of these just like feminist journey movies again, where it's just like okay.
Well, it's a man's view of what it means to be a liberated woman, and a man's view of being a liberated woman is being as whorish as humanly possible because that's how men benefit from that. So Yorgos Lanthimos, like, is part of a collective of men that gaslight women into thinking this is empowering. You know what I mean?
Right.
Aeneas Tinker says, "I punched out Poor Things." Jesus Christ, buddy. Best actor in a supporting role, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. I think we called that one, if I'm not mistaken. I should have went back and checked so we could actually like go against what we were guessing. But I think we were good at that one. He was up against Sterling K. Brown, Robert De Niro, Ryan Gosling, and Mark Ruffalo. I think he's kind of the clear winner.
Yeah.
If Robert Downey Jr. wasn't there, who do you think would have won? I would say, for me, I think Sterling K. Brown would have won.
Yeah, probably.
You know what I mean? Trumling says, "I like that Emma Stone said easy A in that squaw's face and rubbed her Oscar on her face like a dick. Moment of the night. Oh my God. That would have been amazing."
Yeah.
You know what I love about the Emma Stone winning thing, though? She's her character from The Curse. Like her relationship with Lily Gladstone must be like a very similar relationship with the Native American woman from the show The Curse.
Yes,
and that's very funny to me.
Those parallels is like they couldn't be more true.
Best actress in a supporting role, Divine Joy Randolph. I know I definitely called that one.
I called that one too. She was definitely gonna get that,
and that's a totally worthy award. Like she is the heart and soul of that movie, and it's dare I say, a powerful performance. It actually is very touching. She was against Emily Blunt, who I know, Danielle Brooks for Color Purple, American Ferrera for Barbie. Really,
that's the one like that just not.
Oh, because she gives that speech. She gives that speech that everybody likes so much.
Yeah. That I just can't seem to remember because I just like completely.
Well, it's because you're.
When 1 year. Yeah.
Listen, buddy. Listen. Okay. We know about you. Best writing for adapted screenplay, American Fiction wins. It was up against Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. A lot of people were speculating that Barbie would win, and I think maybe even we said Barbie would win because you think that they would give it like something. And usually, a lot of times, it's like that's the kind of giveaway award is one of the screenplay awards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything else here? American Fiction, I kind of disagree. I think that it should have, from what I have seen, I think it should have gone to Oppenheimer. It is by a pretty wide margin Nolan's best script. Mm-hmm. Oh, except for maybe Dunkirk. I'll take that back.
Yeah, those are neck and neck. I would say either Oppenheimer, and I just haven't seen Zone of Interest yet, so I'd be curious about that one.
Yeah, I am very curious about that movie, even just from a technical perspective. I heard the sound design is kind of the star of the movie, and I heard it's very good. Best writing, original screenplay, Anatomy of a Fall, Jeremy's most hated film, nominated for an Oscar. It was up against The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, and Past Lives. You were pulling for Past Lives, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No.
I thought The Holdovers might win that one.
Yeah, I thought so too. I I wasn't expecting Paul Giamatti to win, but I was also thinking, well, maybe Alex. Well, I don't know. Maybe Alexander Payne has had like one too many hits or something lately, so maybe he would have gotten it as well. But at the very least, the writing would have.
Well, The Holdovers is kind of like you can imagine like reading that script.
Yeah.
And it being almost literary.
Right.
Like you kind of feel that. So I'm kind of surprised that it didn't win. I know Anatomy of a Fall was kind of like this. It seems like it's swept up like a ton of attention the last like couple months. I just saw people talking about Anatomy of a Fall all over the place all the time. You got to see Anatomy of a Fall. Of course I didn't.
The weirdest one of all these selections too, by the way, is that the most talked about film in like the past few months of that year, whether you're on TikTok or Letterboxd or Film Twitter, wherever you go, it always was Saltburn. And I had seen Saltburn. I've seen it twice now.
Yeah.
I was just shocked that did not get any sort of like Oscar
Yeah,
buzz.
it was kind of the big snub, right? Like
Right.
if you were to say like in the way these people talk about these things, that was
Yeah.
like this year's snub. I was surprised as well. I haven't seen Saltburn yet, though. I meant to watch it. I've been meaning to watch it, but I kind of just forget about it. That's like one of the big problems with the streaming stuff for me.
Right.
Dude, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And I don't go to we have Hulu because my wife watches Hulu. Like I never go on Hulu. So there's no reason for me to go over and like, oh, look, Poor Things is there. I'm going to watch it. Same thing with what ended up happening with Saltburn. Like I very rarely ever go onto Amazon Prime to watch movies that I'm not already know are there. So it's not like something or I find from a different avenue. Like, oh, I'm looking for this weird movie and I go to Just Watch and it's on Prime, and then I just go directly to the movie. So I'm not like scrolling around like what are the Amazon originals? So I just don't see it. I don't see it. Best animated feature, The Boy and the Heron. Miyazaki film. They won, which seemed like doesn't he always win?
Yeah, if he's going up against like the other big, whether they be Pixar or just general Disney flicks, like he's the one that kind of wins. I guess his movies are technically under the Disney house, or at least some of them are. But
do they own Studio Ghibli? Technically,
we used to have Ponyo on Blu-ray, and that had the Disney label on it.
Yeah,
So
that was definitely a co-production with Disney. That one was, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the other ones that it was going up against were Elemental, Nimona, which I'd never heard of, Robot Dreams, that sounds very familiar, but I can't place it, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which I thought was whatever. It was not like it's just at some point these things just end up up their own ass.
Yeah.
Like just tell me a fucking superhero story that's fun. Everything is like. It's one of these things where it's literally a setup for the rest of the movie. It's kind of like Dune Part 1 and Part 2, where it's just like a setup for the rest of the story, like for the actual story.
Yeah.
Trembling says, Hulu is made only for chicks, it seems like. Caters to their binge-watching the same TV show constantly habits. Well, dude, listen, every streamer is now becoming like that. Look what they did to my boy HBO. Look what they did to our boy HBO. Go on Max right now and try to find anything that's not a HGTV show.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's all because when Discovery or Warner's bought Discovery or whatever, that became a nightmare place. So much so that I literally have just canceled it. Like I find it almost like unusable. I'm like, you know what? If I really want to see something, you know what I'll do? I head to those sites. Okay, I'll head to those sites.
If you like what you see, you buy it and put it on your shelf.
Exactly. That's why I have to buy things, because I don't know. I won't remember they exist if I don't.
Yeah.
Best documentary feature. I don't think I saw any of these. Bobby Wine, The Eternal Memory, Four Daughters, To Kill a Tiger, and 20 Days in Mariupol, which is what won. And I believe that is about the Ukraine-Russia conflict, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So, of course, that won right now. It has to. It was the shoe-in. Best international feature film, Io Capitano, Perfect Days, Society of the Snow, The Teacher's Lounge, and The Zone of Interest. The Zone of Interest won. I cannot believe that Godzilla -1 was not given a nod for best international feature.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. Maybe we'll talk about that more later. But
And that's cheating to put yourself in two categories: Zone of Interest Pick one or the other, best picture or best international.
Dude, I don't know why they do that.
Yeah.
Like the year Parasite won,
Yeah.
right? Like he was in international feature and best picture, ends up winning best picture. But why even have it in the international category? Like, why don't you put it in, like, give another movie a spotlight? You know, because one of the things about like getting nominated for especially international films, short films, some documentaries is that so people actually see them because they'll know they exist because they were nominated for an Oscar. You know, give our boy Godzilla -1 some fucking love, please. Yeah. Best animated short film, we don't care about that. Best live action short film, we barely cared about that. But The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, the Wes Anderson one, with what's his name?
With Cumberbatch. Yeah.
Cumberbatch, that's right. I did not watch it. I saw that it's on Netflix. It's another one of those things where it's like, oh, I saw it on there one time, and I was like, oh, I'll check that out eventually, and then never did.
It's not bad. I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. I assume if you're into Wes Anderson stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been a little off the Wes Anderson train for a while. Like I always watch his stuff. I always find it like visually really cool and interesting. But I don't know. I just feel like I'm watching the same movie over and over sometimes.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of diversity in his like topics or the subtext of his movies. It's kind of like usually the same exact thing. All the way up until the newest one was Atomic, whatever it was called.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm ready for his horror movie now, like full on, just like.
Yeah, I'd like to see him do something.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be like, oh look, another quiet, twee domestic family drama that's very stated and very mannered.
Yeah.
My wife is a big Wes Anderson fan, so I have had a lot of practice giving Wes Anderson shit.
Yeah.
Best cinematography went to Hoyt van Hoytema for Oppenheimer. It was up against Edward Lochman for El Conde, Rodrigo Prieto for Killers of the Flower Moon, Matthew Libatique for Maestro, and Robbie Ryan for Poor Things. As far as I understand, I would say that is a fair win. The cinematography everything in Oppenheimer is like perfect.
Right.
Because it's a giant studio movie where he had every resource available. And Nolan's like a guy that actually makes use of his resources. Like he knows how to use them and not squander them. Tremlick says, I want a violent action movie done in Wes Anderson style. Wow. Well, you may be getting that, you know? Isn't that Monkey Man movie coming out soon? That looks like it's very, I actually kind of want to see that. Have you seen the trailer for that?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh,
actually.
It's like Dev Patel. His
oh wait, I did see that clip. Yeah, like he's
looks
playing
cool.
like it's
I don't know anything about it. It just looks cool. Yeah.
It looks like it looks like one of the Raid movies, like all over again too. A little John Wick maybe in there as well, but
yeah. And he's coming in swinging with a bunch of pretension about making action movies. I want to make an action movie where like people have heart and they care about the characters. I'm like,
oh.
Yeah, everybody tries to do that, dude. Like even the guys that are making like the 7th Universal Soldier movie are trying to do that.
Yeah.
Best makeup and hairstyle. Okay. Best original song. What Was I Made For from Barbie. It went up against The Fire Inside from Flaming Hot. I'm Just Ken, which what's his name? Ryan Gosling did a big performance of. That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I did see that performance. It Never Went Away from American Symphony. Owazawa from Killers of the Flower Moon. Oh, that's a song for my people. That makes more sense. Best original score, Oppenheimer, Ludwig Göransson. He won. He went up against the scores for American Fiction, Indiana Jones, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Poor Things. They really gave John Williams, I forgot, they gave him kind of a token award. It's like, yeah, look how they reused my old music.
Just so they could say Oscar-nominated Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yeah. Ludwig Göransson, and I did not watch his speech, but I saw a quote from it, which let's bring up briefly. He said in his Oscar-winning speech, he said, "To my parents, thank you for giving me guitars and drum machines instead of video games." And this set the nerdosphere on fire. They're saying this guy doesn't know anything about video games. He doesn't have respect. Let me see. What is this guy who posted it? Should I share it with everybody? Would that make this more fun? If I share the tweet. So this guy, G-Man Lives. He's been on Twitter for a while. I'm sure he didn't mean it to sound that way, but it's kind of sad this is still the normie viewpoint on video games, considering there's composers like Nobu Uematsu, Jesper Kidd, Akira Yamaka, and Marty O'Donnell who've created some outright amazing music over the years. Yeah, he's not talking about the scores of video games. He's saying he's glad that he didn't sit around
The lifestyle.
and play fucking video games
Yes.
instead of learning how to play his instruments, you fucking mongoloids.
Yeah.
God, I play video games, okay? I'm a 37-year-old man. I play video games. I'm playing a fucking weeb Final Fantasy game right now, okay? So I'm no stranger. But these people, and this guy, he's been around for a while, 52K followers. They are so oversensitive about this shit, it is embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. Do you think Nobu Uematsu spent more time playing video games or time playing instruments and composing music? He answers, I'm not implying that. I'm saying it seems this guy is overlooking the amazing music in video games simply because video games bad. That's
How is he getting to that?
based off of that, because this is not like this guy didn't post the speech. He posted a screenshot of this, probably looks like it's from Variety or something.
Yeah.
These people they can't be trusted, and we have to stop them. We have to stop all of them for their own good.
Yeah.
For their own good, we have to stop them. Like, you're not allowed to be this into video games. You're not allowed to.
Call up Godzilla. He'll do the job. You know. It's just
Exactly. Godzilla will take care of it for all of us. Okay. But yeah, I thought that I had to remark on that because that's just kind of what we do here. But that was so, I hate the dog on the dude. Well, not really. But that's so like, it's so ghoulish. It's so goonish.
yeah.
Like we all, dude, I like video games too, man. But like that has nothing to do with what he's saying. And even if it was, like, why do you care? Do you give a shit? Like video games are literally the most popular form of entertainment in the world.
Yeah.
It pulls in more money than any other industry in the world. I think your games are going to be fined. You got to be worried about Anita Sarkeesian and Gamergate too, okay? That's what you should be occupying your time with. The Sweet Baby Inc. thing. Pay attention to that, G-Man. Let this art stuff, this is for other people. This is for higher beings, not for you. Not for a gamer. Trembling says, did Killers of the Flower Moon win Best Visual Effects for its CGI cows? Does it have CGI cows? You know, it probably did.
Yeah.
Trembling also says, the Nerdosphere need their toys taken away. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
You know what, Trembling? That gets a Godzilla Roar number 2. Yeah, drink it in, everybody. We just called out that guy. Or I did. I'll speak for myself. Best production design, Poor Things. I think that was pretty obvious, the shoe in there. Best editing, Jennifer Lame for Oppenheimer. I think that's very worthy. That, like I said, that movie is like perfectly paced, impressively edited. The whole thing is just kind of impressive.
Yeah.
Best sound design, Zone of Interest. From what I understand, it should have won. Yes. Although the creator, while not a great movie, is actually pretty good in this department. Sound design, visual effects. The creator was really good. Creator was also nominated for visual effects, but lost to our boy Godzilla -1, which was kind of
my favorite win of that night too.
It's the darling win of the night. It's the one that pulls at your heartstrings. It's the one that we all wanted because all those people involved were so excited to be in Hollywood and be at the Oscars, and it's just kind of adorable.
Yeah.
You know, when Asian people get to go to the Oscars, we're all like, ooh. Remember when those Koreans came for Parasite?
Oh, they're just so cute and cuddly. I want to just like...
Yeah, they were so lost in the moment and the magic of Hollywood, you know?
Yeah.
And that's it, everybody. So that's the Oscars. So that was fun. So you said you only watched like half of it. Was the ceremony... How was the ceremony this year, Jeremy?
Well... Did Jimmy Kimmel have anything to say?
I heard he had some contentious moments where people didn't think he was like being very funny, but
there were a couple of moments like that, just a couple like snide remarks. But I mean, he was right when he was talking about how last year was the year of the 3-hour movie. Like, even though it probably didn't need to be, and it was like, okay, fine, I'll grant you that. But
I mean, listen.
They breezed through it, though. This was like the fastest the Oscars have ever been.
And that's why I think people have liked it the most, because it felt like a very put-together show.
Yeah.
And obviously everybody likes this Oscars so much because, listen, guys, they went back to their old racist ways. Okay? I mean, Emma Stone beat Lily Gladstone out. Do you have any idea what kind of speech she would have had prepared to call out everybody? Then Emma Stone comes and like literally does to Lily Gladstone with the help of the Academy what the rich people did to the Osakes in the film Killers of the Flower Moon. It was disgusting. What a display. If I was Emma Stone, I would have refused it. I would have said, no, this is for Lily. Lily, come up here right now. Come up here right now. But she's like, no. It's like I feel like Emma Stone winning for Poor Things is like if Sean Penn had won for I Am Sam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like like she's playing like a retard.
I would have
Sorry,
given it to
everybody.
Ben Stiller for Simple Jack personally, but that never
Well,
happened.
that's the one. Yeah, they should have actually made that movie.
Yeah.
But it's kind of because I mean, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really say. I know Jeremy's seen it. But isn't it kind of like a Simple Jack, almost like performance, but just about a sexed up chick? Yeah. Yeah, when she's through her like fuck everybody phase.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have one more news story. We're just going to touch on one more. We had a few more, but we're getting long in the tooth here. Let's check this out. Godzilla -1 could win an Oscar, so why can't anyone see it? So if you don't know, you cannot currently actually watch a legit copy of Godzilla -1. Not in Japan and not stateside either. It's not on any video on demand service at the moment. If you go into this article, what you find out is that Toho and Legendary have an arrangement about how many Godzilla movies can be released in a year period, which makes me a little afraid that Godzilla -1 might not get a domestic physical release or a digital release until next year. And if that happens, my son is going to kill me. He's going to be very upset at me. Okay. So I hope that's not true, but that is what is being speculated here right now. Because nobody expected this movie to do well. Nobody expected this to blow up the way it did. They didn't have any sense of if people would glom onto it, because in some ways it is very Japanese. It's a very Japanese movie about, it's kind of nationalistic, pro Japan.
Yeah, because I know you and I knew we were going to at least be satisfied with it. We were going to go see it no matter what, but I was just surprised by just like the general populace, the normies even, if you will, taking a liking to it. Yeah.
They loved it, dude. Yeah. I mean, it was me. I mean, I live in South Carolina, and it's like me and a couple hillbilly guys in there in my row. It was a fairly full theater, and people were crying.
Yeah,
like hillbillies were crying in the theater. Like, it was great. It was a great experience. You know, when I said Dune 2 was like the best theatrical experience, you know what? I apologize, Godzilla -1, because that was actually the best theatrical experience I've had in years, was watching that with a group of people that didn't really know super what they were into, because I saw it pretty early on because I thought it was going to leave. I knew it was only supposed to be in America for like 2 weeks. So yeah, I saw it in that first couple weeks, and I'm glad I did. My only regret is that I didn't go see it again, honestly. Yeah. But yeah, apparently you can't see it anywhere though. Other news stories that we are not going to cover that we were going to cover is that Malia Ann Obama's film premiered at Sundance. She did a short film. It's been pretty heavily pilloried. She's calling herself Malia Ann so that nobody knows that she's related to, the Obamas. Because, of course, who's going to know if she changes her name? It's kind of like when, was it Denzel Washington's son? He was around the time Tenet came out, and he was like talking about how he used to go on auditions and like change his name and pretend like he was a construction worker. I was like, motherfucker, you think those casting agents didn't know exactly who you were?
Yeah,
just like, come on, dude, please.
You look at him for 10 seconds, like, oh, you
it's
look
okay.
related.
Listen, I'm not a person. I don't get weird about nepotism. I'm like, that's just kind of the way the world works. Yeah, I get it. Like, if I was a successful actor and my son was like, Dad, I want to be an actor, I'm like, I'm gonna help you out. It's okay. You just don't have to comment on it. Just live your life and have a career. Trumping said instead of giving the Japs an Oscar, they hand them each a bag of oranges like George Costanza. Aeneas Tinker says Emma Stone could have done a modern Marlon Brando and had her come up and accept the Oscar for it. Exactly. Something should have been done. Listen, we got to get this started. Hashtags Oscar so white again. Hashtag Lily was robbed. Actually, I think that was a hashtag, if I'm not mistaken, on the platform X.
Hashtag we're so back.
Hashtag we are so back. We're back in control of the Oscars, everybody. And the other, you know what? No, we're going to do one more story. We're going to do because we have to. Since we were dogging on the gamers. So the actress from, one of the actresses from Harry Potter comes out swinging. Yeah. She says, Harry Potter actress worried about adult fans. They should be over that by now. What a fucking queen. Okay? Godzilla roar. For you, madam. Miriam Margolyes isn't having it. It was 25 years ago, and it's for children. Yes. Yes. Some sense in this world. What does she say? Class is dismissed for Harry Potter fans, according to Miriam Margolyes, the actress who played Professor Sprout in the series. Margolyes' character taught students at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, a fictional boarding school of magic created by author J.K. Rowling. Grade-level pupils were enrolled to learn all about potions, spells, and even team-building extracurricular activities such as Quidditch. However, Professor Sprout's portrayer is done with anyone beyond their teen years still being a superfan of the wizarding world. During a recent interview with New Zealand's #1 News, the 82-year-old actress said Harry Potter, simply put, it's over. Harry Potter. I worry about Harry Potter fans because they should be over that by now, Margolyes said to the host in response to a question comparing fans of the films to fans of her 1980s BBC sitcom Blackadder. Oh, I love it. I love it. So she's like, well, it's not like Blackadder. It's something I'm proud of. Like, it was 25 years ago, and it's for children.
It's like finally someone is dressing like this is really concerning.
Yeah. Seeming genuinely perplexed that those who loved the films in their younger years would still be fans as adults, she continued sharing her point of view. They get stuck in it. I do cameos and people say, we're having a Harry Potter themed wedding. And I think, gosh, what's their first night of fun going to be? I can't even think about it. No. And that's about it for her comments. But when I saw like the Twitter link to that, like people were losing their minds. Like, how dare she? Because she's right. You know what you're supposed to do if you're an adult Harry Potter fan? You're supposed to be sharing that with your children. You're not supposed to be a fucking dink that's 32 years old and still really into Harry Potter. It's not allowed.
Yeah.
Jeremy and I have just disagreed. We have decided, okay? Listen. The truth is out there, and the truth is you need to grow the fuck up, Harry Potter fans, okay? You're not allowed to. Not allowed to like Harry Potter in the ways that you do.
Not to mention it's the same crowd that gets into just constant like Twitter wars with J.K. Rowling and her.
Oh my God, yeah, they're like going through this existential crisis whether or not they're allowed to like Harry Potter anymore because they don't like her political opinions. Yeah. That's awesome, and her political opinions are just that girls should be treated with dignity and respect and not have to deal with mentally ill men.
Yeah,
that's about the extent of her opinions. Trembling says, you know for a fact that weird adult Harry Potter fans tried to hug her and call her Professor Sprout. I always just think of this chick giving Arnold a hell of a fight in End of Days. That's true.
Yes.
Didn't you mention that, Jeremy?
The story dropped like 2 years ago where she just in an interview said like, oh yeah, he farted in my face on the set of End of Days.
Yeah, that's right. Because doesn't his ass like collide with her face?
Yeah.
I have a memory. I'm like, I don't think End of Days is like a great movie. Maybe not even a good movie.
Yeah.
But it's a very entertaining movie. And Arnold's drip in that is awesome.
Yeah.
I would dress like that for real. I mean, he just like, I love that, like all the little like choices they made. Like, well, we got to show that he's depressed and he doesn't care. Right. Let's have him put a bunch of food in a blender and drink it.
It was definitely one of those more unconventional Arnold roles, but he's just so fucking big that like it's just distracting half the time.
Dude, yeah, I know. But they gave him like the dumbest mystery to solve. He's like, Christ in New York. Christine York. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. You know what? We might have to cover End of Days at some point.
I think
the Peter Hyams classic End of Days.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's do a little, if I can find it, trailer talk. That's right, everybody. So 30 years after the fact, The Crow is finally coming back to theaters once again. This one is starring Bill Skarsgård. The trailer just dropped today. Mm-hmm. We're bringing you hot cinema straight from the abyss, wherever The Crow is from. Do you like Alex Proyas's the Crow? Is that something you were even watched or into? I feel like you'd be a little young for it.
I watched the first one. I'm trying to remember when I did, because it was still when I was going through like a Punisher, Batman, a lot of those kind of like the Daredevil, like those kind of darker phases
Gotcha.
of that time period.
Yeah.
So at one point, it would have been like in like the late 2000s. I watched it, and probably my first Brandon Lee movie too. Unfortunate, it's the one he passed away on.
It's the one he died on. Yeah.
Yeah.
They killed him.
Yeah. He got as they say, Alec Baldwin. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Actually, a very similar story where there was something like a live round got mixed in with dummies and literally got shot through the chest and like died within minutes, like just bled out super fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rumor back in the day was that he died from an explosion in one of the bags, like a squib explosion, but I believe he was just shot in the chest, if I'm not mistaken. There is actually an episode, if you guys have Shudder, Cursed Films.
Yes, and they go in depth with it. Yeah,
goes into depths with it, and I really feel bad for the guy that shot him. I'll just say that the actor that shot him, I feel so bad. Lucky he didn't do it in 2024 though, because he would probably be going to jail for involuntary manslaughter. It seems like that's the thing these days. They're like, well, I mean, he's kind of responsible. Yeah. Trelling says the round glasses was a definite action look from the 90s. So many examples, including Arnold in both Kindergarten Cop and End of Days. This is true. Mm-hmm. Actually, I just bought Kindergarten Cop like the other day because it was $5. Yeah, you know me. I'll get that fix.
It's like a casual Sunday for Sean. Oh, Kindergarten Cop. All right.
I'm not even shitting you. Yes. Yes. The Kindergarten Cop's the kind of movie it's I'm like if I'm sick, it's like chicken soup kind of movie.
I grew up on it too. I like the movie. I'd probably buy it too if it was $5.
It was $5, dude. It wasn't like, they actually just released it on 4K. Keenan Lorber did, and I was like, I'm not spending $28 on Kindergarten Cop. Like, it's not happening. No. But you know what you got to do though? Pro tip for collectors out there: if you don't really care about like kind of new transfers and stuff, you just want to own the movie. Watch when they release 4Ks of these movies. Yep. Go on Amazon. They will have dropped the old Blu-ray price, oftentimes to anywhere from like $4 to $8. Mm-hmm. That's how I buy a lot of movies that way, actually. Trelling says, you ever saw the think about the school in the first Silent Hill is the exact school from Kindergarten Cop? Is it really? No, I didn't know that.
Wow.
I didn't know that. So the Crow, actually I gotta look up who I don't know anything about this movie. The Crow has been in development hell for 20 years. I mean, even while they were making other direct-to-video sequels, they were trying to do a remake of The Crow. Bradley Cooper was attached to it at one point. I want to say he was also going to direct it, maybe? No, I don't want this. I want the new The Crow, not the old one. See who directed Rupert. Oh, shit. We're not in good hands here. Rupert Sanders directed The Crow. He directed such films as Ghost in the Shell.
Oh.
What is it? Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he slept with Kristen Stewart, actually. That's why
that's why she is the way she is now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why now she's a boyish lesbian.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's one of the reasons why she broke up with what's his name, Robert Pattinson. It's because of the shenanigans on the set of Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yeah.
Even though I actually don't mind his Ghost in the Shell. I think it's kind of just miscast and not paced well. But it's got some cool stuff in there. If you're a Ghost in the Shell fan. All right, let's start. I watched this on my phone earlier, so this is my first proper viewing of it.
What's the first thing you liked about me? thought that you were quite brilliantly broken.
Were they both in the loony bin together?
Yeah.
This looks like it. Looks like it.
You feel like my person.
You feel like my person.
What's the worst thing you've ever done?
I saw things. I shouldn't have seen any of it.
Now, if I remember correctly, I've actually read the comic book The Crow.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. The villains aren't supernatural, though. I don't think.
They're supposed to be just kind of normal gangsters.
I thought they were they're like really hardcore, gross, stylized gangsters.
Yeah.
I don't remember them having superpowers. I know that the girlfriend is not a psychic in the original story. So that's the new, because they had to give her something more to do. She can't just be, fridged. You know what I mean?
Julie! Julie! Please don't do that!
Yeah, this guy has a weird thing with casting.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a movie from like the mid 2000s, but
yeah, just from the boots Skarsgård is wearing, the hairstyles,
you don't like his
talk. There's nothing cool about any of this at all.
Well, is there anything really cool about The Crow? I mean,
well, Brendan Lee had charisma, if I remember. I enjoyed his performance. It's not like it's not conventional either. It's
no,
not,
I like The Crow just fine. Like I do.
It's fine. Yeah,
but it's pretty I guess because it's so hyper stylized, and that is just kind of the aesthetic and the tone. It's not even trying to approximate the real world to any degree. It's very much its own thing. So it's kind of less noticeable. This seems like a little half in, half out. A recognizable world, but also kind of rock star aesthetic, where the other one looks just like a music video the whole time.
I think that's what I kind of prefer, just from the aesthetic of the original Crow. Was just it knew it was trying to capture that kind of look. This movie, already from this trailer, we're only 44 seconds in, but it already looks like it's having a bit of an identity crisis with what kind of tone it really wants to. Because it's pulling from the past few superhero films we've had, whether it's Matt Reeves' The Batman or stuff with Venom or something. It's it doesn't know what.
Yeah,
it's
definitely
throwing everything at the wall.
I could definitely see the Matt Reeves Batman kind of influence, because that's probably one of the reasons why something like this actually ends up getting greenlit, honestly. Yeah. Trellick says Jason Momoa was in development for a Crow remake forever, and they've somehow made an even dumber version now. Yeah, Jason Momoa would have been an awful. It was Eric Draven. Trellick says The Crow was cool in 1994. That stuff just is dated as fuck now. It was very cool back in the day. I remember being a kid, and I actually wanted to see it. Two movies were in the theater. It was Street Fighter the movie and The Crow. And I desperately tried to get my dad to take me to The Crow, but he would only take me to Street Fighter. You know what, Dad? I'm glad you're dead. I could have seen The Crow in 1994 as an 8-year-old boy. It would have changed my life.
When someone dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead.
This is something I really hate, this convention where they're going to have a mentor character that is going to just dump lore on you and exposition constantly. Explaining everything. Why does it need to be explained? You know what I mean? I think I'm okay with the conceit of it's just some kind of crazy spiritual thing and the legend of the crows, and I'm okay with that. I don't need somebody to be 4,000 years ago there was an evil demon that got possessed a bird. You know what I mean?
See, if this movie was in my hands, I would just have Bill Skarsgård speaking cacaws and just physically turn into a crow and die.
Trembling says, I'm a big Dark City guy. The other big Alex Proyas movie. Yeah, I like Dark City too. Actually, I'm a little bit of an Alex Proyas defender. I think Knowing is actually okay. The one with Nicolas Cage. And also, I would have to rewatch it to be able to really mount a defense, but Gods of Egypt is actually a pretty fun movie. Like it's very campy and silly, but if you like The Mummy, like I think you should give Gods of Egypt a shot. I mean, it's got all of these great big actors like Gerard Butler, like just chewing scenery as like as Egyptian gods, and there's all sorts of goofy shit in there. I think it's just when you start getting into that kind of mythology, it's just inherently kind of goofy. So representing it on screen, it just kind of looks silly. It does. It's just kind of the way it is. Just like the Jason and the Argonauts and Clash of the Titans did back in the day. Like we like it because of the Harryhausen.
Ray Harryhausen, yeah.
Ray Harryhausen. Thank you. Jesus, I don't know what's going on with me today. We like it for that kind of stuff, but and it's and it looks appropriate to the period, but it's very goofy. Trembling says, "Come on, Sean, you don't want a guy to give a Putin-like lore dump that slows the movie to a halt? No, it's my favorite thing."
But sometimes something so bad happens that the soul cannot rest. Until you put the wrong things right.
I will say this. I hope they go for ultra violence. I think it's going to be a rated R movie. Yeah, I think it is. They allow them to do the rated R. Because if you go and read the Crow comic book, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah,
it's way more brutal than the movie is.
You were given the power of a god. But you're running out of time to save her.
They're even showing a lot of violence in this trailer. Is this not a Red Band?
It's not. I don't. Is it Red Band? I have no idea. This is just the official trailer. It's the first one that. It's just the Lionsgate trailer. It does not have any markings for Red Band. No, they just do this now.
Wow.
They don't even bother with Red Band anymore. Yeah. That's a pretty brutal beat. I'm not gonna lie. That's a pretty brutal moment. And I will say I do like Bill Skarsgård as an actor.
I do, yeah.
You know what I mean? Aeneas Tinker says this Spawn reboot looks terrible. I was thinking the same thing because I was thinking of The Mentor, the guy doing all the exposition dumping. You're a hell Spawn down there with Melbolgia, bastards. The clown is here. Have you ever seen the Spawn movie?
With Michael J. White?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what we're talking about. Dude.
Yeah.
The Spawn movie is not a good movie, but it's very entertaining.
It's entertaining, yeah.
I always say for people that are into movies and watching, listening to audio commentaries, listen to the audio commentary for Spawn. The director resents being there. He trashes his own movie. He's sitting there with the special effects guys that did those awful special effects. And they kind of make excuse, because they didn't have a lot of time and money and they had to turn it around quickly, but he still just dogs them to their face. It's very entertaining.
Wow.
It's very entertaining. He really is he's upset that he's there talking about it. It's amazing. And it must be a holdover from like the early days of DVD.
Yeah.
Cause, or maybe even Laserdisc. I don't know. But the first time I heard it was a few years ago because of course I saw the movie for $5 in the $5 Walmart bin when they used to have those, and I bought it.
As you should.
Had to have it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill them.
What would my children do if I didn't have Spawn?
I killed you.
Yeah, you did.
We have a problem. He came for us.
There is something here. I kind of miss the grungy edge of the old movie, though.
Right.
This has it with the Draven character, but the villains are kind of normies. These are business people.
Yeah, they're not like these scum of the earth, gangsters that are.
What's his name? I love that. The dude that's in the original Crow is the bad guy.
Yeah.
I gotta look up his name. It's gonna bother me if I don't. If I can actually type the words. Michael Wincott. Thank you.
Michael Wincott, yeah.
Michael Wincott. And also, what's his name is in this? Ernie Hudson, Michael Wincott, David Patrick Kelly. He's also very good in the original Crow. Yeah, the original Crow's got some talent in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of why it's memorable, I suppose. But yeah, why? I mean, I like Danny Houston just fine. He does a great impression of his dad.
Yeah,
John Huston. Yeah. He actually did the dubbing for when they did The Other Side of the Wind, the lost Orson Welles movie that Netflix put out like 5 years ago. He actually went in and dubbed some of his dad. Did some of the ADR for his dad because the audio is so corroded, so degraded, they couldn't use it, and he does a spot on impression of his dad.
First impulse. Anger.
It's like this is like who else would have made a movie just like this? Francis Lawrence, the guy who directed Constantine.
Yep.
And I Am Legend.
It's right out of that.
Right out of that era, like that vibe, that style. You know what I mean? It's too much CG. It's a little too plain looking for what it is, and it'll probably be fine. I have a feeling this was going to be like, this is a solid like 2.5 out of 5 star movie.
Right.
You'll watch it and be like, okay, and then never think about it again. Just like other Rupert Sanders films.
It's not anger. It's love.
Oh, come on, dude. Come on. Listen, we got to this is the one you take your girlfriends to this movie, everybody. This is actually a love story.
Yeah. At its heart.
You know, the love story of our time, of our age.
Look at what you've become. You know that love promises only pain. You have no idea what hell awaits you.
Did it say love never dies?
Something of it.
That's the tagline for Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. Thank you very much, Rupert Sanders. Get your own taglines, buddy.
The OG gothic horror classic.
The OG camp horror classic, yeah. I actually really love Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I do too.
I'm not even gonna lie, that movie is so much fun. Tremley says the new junkie couple goals to replace Joker and Harley. Kind of. That's probably in a way that's kind of how they would like to frame it. This completely toxic, fucked relationship that they just kind of they just twist enough to be like, isn't this goals, guys? Isn't this what you want? Like, no.
No, I do.
How many people have you loved?
He's like 2.
They're really just going all in on the violence in this trailer alone. Like, this could play in front of like one of the newer Spider-Man movies, and you would just get away with it now. Like, there would be kids seeing that.
You know, you're seeing the last act.
Yeah.
Like, most of this stuff is from the last act. If he's like in a big ornate building, like walking up a staircase, I guarantee you, because they're going to do a fucking lame origin thing where half the movie is like an origin story.
Yeah.
You know, you could say whatever you want about the 1994 movie. It gets to the fucking point pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like, he's the Crow within 20 minutes. And he's just the Crow.
Yeah.
He's just, he's like this vengeful spirit dude that's out there getting revenge.
And if they need to show what he was all about, like in the past before he became the Crow, it's like these very itty bitty flashbacks, and it's all you need.
And they just give you just enough.
Yeah.
Just enough flavor. What kind of person was Eric Draven before he became the Crow? We get to see just little flashes, and that's all you need. Exactly. They did the same thing in the sequel, City of Angels, which is not a great movie. I know there's allegedly there's some sort of lost director's cut of that, which I saw. Actually, it used to be on the YouTube channel. I don't know if it is anymore. I did a watch along like years ago when I first started live streaming on Zoobox, and I totally got away with it. I don't know how, but I did.
Maybe you'll find a copy of it on Etsy for $5, and you can buy it.
Maybe I'll be lucky. Trummick says, I don't like even skankier Zoe Kravitz. Yes, they would have loved it if they could have gotten Zoe Kravitz for this, because that's the archetype.
Yeah.
kind of bringing back what we were saying about the Matt Reeves Batman, right? Like, it kind of pulls from that aesthetic a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the fact that they're doing like a Rorschach crow
Right.
thing means it's going to be psychological, dude. It's going to get into the psychology of the crow.
Yeah. And
I
that's,
don't know, Jeremy,
that's as far as I thought about it.
Are you excited about this, Jeremy? Are you going to be there day one in the theater?
I'm going to be there like opening night alone. When it comes out.
Alone. I'm going to be alone watching this.
Yeah.
I'd probably
No, I
not
don't
go
know.
see
I
this in
will.
the theater.
Yeah.
No, I think I'll probably skip this one. I'll, you know what though? I will watch it at some point. I know I will. I have a morbid curiosity about it.
I will look at reviews for it for sure from both ends. Letterbox retards and critics. Yeah.
Well, like, what do you do you have a prediction? What do you think the average Letterbox score on this is going to be?
What range? How do they score it again? Is it in stars or 5?
5 stars.
I could see it being like between 2 to 3.
Yeah,
from
I'm
this
gonna
trailer alone.
Say it's going to get 2. It's going to be 2. I've seen a lot of backlash against it because there was backlash even before the trailer came out because they released the image of what Bill Skarsgård looks like in the movie, and people were very, very critical of that, which I don't really understand because he just looks like what the modern day archetype for something like that is.
Yeah.
Like the goth rocker guy. Honestly, though, I will say this. Bill Skarsgård looks like he should be a villain. He looks like he should be a lackey.
Yes.
He's got the face of a lackey, like not of a leading man. Maybe that's
Right.
not a nice thing to say, but it's the truth.
He looks like one of the guys that, again, I know it's not take it back to Matt Reeves again, but like one of the guys that Batman beats up at the beginning of the Batman.
And honestly, I kind of would prefer that. Like I would, because I think he's good at that.
Yeah.
And I think as an actor, he would probably enjoy himself more if he just got to be an unhinged junkie thug.
Yeah.
Number 4. Tremlick says, I love my protagonist to look like the guy that tries to burn a smoke from the outside of a Shell Mart. That's true. He does have that look. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because my years of being in a band or something. Like I'm just more acclimated to it because it just didn't strike me as really anything. And then Alex Proyas on Facebook, because Alex Proyas is kind of like Paul Schrader, like they're Facebook guys. You know, they're older guys.
Right.
Made a joke. He made this passing joke about like he's like, I don't like the Crow's new haircut. Next reboot, please. And people like lost their minds. I saw a clip of John Campio floating around, being like, "Well, we just never need to hear from this stupid bitch again." What did he direct last? Gods of Egypt. Worst fucking movie I ever saw. Like he had made some sort of like statement about like speaking out against the new Crow, and not just a guy like making a joke about a picture. You should have more respect. Why? Who cares? You think even Rupert Sanders gives a shit? Like Rupert Sanders is not pulling from 1994's The Crow. He's pulling from the comic book. At least I would assume that's what he's doing. But call me old-fashioned. Anyways, so I guess we're at the big moment of the night, everybody. We're going to be talking about 1954's Ishiro Honda's Godzilla.
This is the 1954 Godzilla Criterion Collection, which is great, except when you open it up, that's not Godzilla 1954, that's Godzilla 2000! They fucked it up!
Cheers, Jake.
That's Jeremy's buddy Jake. That's a good catch too, because I bet you there's lots of posers that didn't realize that.
Well,
What an egregious! How egregious is that? That's crazy.
Yeah, somebody as prestigious as Criterion, how could they miss that? Yeah.
How did they miss that? Like for real? I mean, like I understand that the old Godzilla suit is like not great to look at. It's not as aesthetically pleasing. Which we're going to get into. I think that actually makes it better. It makes it scarier to me. But yeah, that really tickled me when you sent me that video. I was like, holy shit, because I had never bought the Criterion because I've always been planning to buy that big set.
Right.
So I'm just kind of waiting for the day where I am like up late enough to make a bad decision and hit the buy button. But yeah.
There's a great like fan cover out there that they could have, or even like on their own like original design board that they could have put together where it's just the shape and shadow or something. You know, you have like the skylit city and just something that was just more ominous. It still looks like that original Godzilla.
I mean, some of the still frames from Godzilla's attack on Tokyo are so striking.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you just use that in your packaging for the movie? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that stuff is so striking. It's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
I actually rewatched like Godzilla attacking Tokyo like 5 times.
Right.
Because I was just like, this is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
It looks so amazing, and I can't wait to get into it. So we're going to be talking about 1954's Godzilla, like I said, directed by Ishiro Honda, written by Takeo Murata, Ishiro Honda, and Shigeru Kayami. It stars a bunch of Japanese people. I will not insult them. The logline plot synopsis is American nuclear weapons testing results in the creation of a seemingly unstoppable dinosaur-like beast. And here's a little trailer.
1億6ヶ月のストーラー生んだ世紀の船ゴジラ映画技術の粋を集め大東宝が全能力を上げた空前のスペクタクルゴジラ本年最大の話題作ゴジラ
Oh boy, everybody. See, that's some of that striking footage I was talking about in that trailer. I actually had to cut out most of that trailer, and I knew nobody that's watching this knows Japanese, so it's not going to matter. But that old trailer literally just tells you the entire movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's a 2.5-minute trailer. I think it was restored by Toho not that long ago, a couple years ago. And it just gives you a synopsis of the entire movie. Like, what they're showing at the end there is the end of towards the end of the movie. It's like the big set piece of the movie. Trembling asked, was it the one that added Raymond Burr and a bunch of Dr. Pepper product placement to the American version? Yes, it was. You're talking about 1956's Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is one I have seen a ton of times and even threw on again in preparation for this conversation, because it is so funny to watch how they lazily inserted Raymond Burr. I mean, the shots don't even match. It's awesome.
With a bunch of just like Japanese American actors like standing around him.
Yeah. And he basically acts as, because he's like a reporter, a journalist or something, and he acts like kind of a narrator to explain to people kind of the context and some of the Japanese kind of social norms of what you're looking at. He's like, then we were at Oshodo Village. It's an island village. And they've prayed tell they've heard stories of a giant creature. That's pretty great.
I rewatched some scenes of King of the Monsters, but like I didn't do a full revisit for this show. But what you're bringing up, like, there's so many of those moments where I'm just like, yes, I can fucking see that, Raymond Burr. You don't have to explain it,
dude. It makes me laugh so much. Like, actually, when the one of the first attacks, the Odo Village thing, when they're in the aftermath and all the villagers are there and they're like looking, and it's just Raymond Burr. They just have an insert shot of him like looking over somebody's shoulder with a pipe in his mouth, going like, interesting. Look at these footprints. Like, it's awesome. And then they have the scene where the paleontologist guy is like describing what Godzilla is. He's like, and it's so inappropriate because it cuts to him standing what's supposed to be on the wall of the other side of the room with a bunch of other Japanese guys. He's like, hey, my Japanese isn't so good. Like, what's he saying?
Yeah. See, like, anybody today would do this as a joke. Like, oh, I'm like, what was it?
It's like Kung Pao.
It's just like, I'm just going to insert myself, you know?
Dude, there are moments that are just like Kung Pao.
Yeah.
So early on in the movie, like during it's just like the aftermath of an attack. And the girl is like a nurse. And she's like helping people, wounded people out. And in the original movie, she goes over and crosses the room and helps out a little girl. And the King of the Monsters version, they dub in Raymond Burr being like, Shizumi, over here. And then then it shows her walk across the room where she would have met the little girl, but it's Raymond Burr, and it's just like a double, and you never see her face while he's talking to her. It's amazing. Yeah. It's great. It's some really fun stuff. It's like My son and I have watched that one a lot because for up until recently, and still he's not quite there yet, but he couldn't read well enough to keep up with subtitles.
Right.
And actually, when we watched it the other day, I read all the subtitles to my boys. I did all the voices. It was nice. And sometimes I would be taking notes, so I'd stop, and he's like, "Dad, what's going on? What are you doing?" Trembling says, quote unquote, "Now please send these poor people a crate of refreshing Dr. Pepper on me." Pretty much. It is very much like that, yes. So, Jeremy, 1954's Godzilla. What is your personal history with Godzilla, the Godzilla franchise in general? Like, are you a fan? Did you grow up with them? Like, when do you come to Godzilla?
Well, I'm glad you asked because I've got an example right here. Everybody who had a video collection, if you didn't see this on somebody's shelf,
I had it. Yep.
As a 4-year-old, I was like, oh, I gotta see this.
Yeah.
The marketing for this was insane. I was a little too young, but I was also like old enough to kind of see like commercials and everything for this. I'm like, I don't know how I ended up watching it, but go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you must have been like, how old were you?
Yeah, I was like 4. Yeah, 3 or 4.
Yeah, perfect age.
Yeah. And by the way, that tape is great because it comes with its own free Godzilla flashlight.
Oh,
or
damn.
flashlight, depending if you want to know what it feels like if Godzilla's
sucking on your dick.
Sucking on that.
You ever get your dick sucked by Godzilla? I have.
So unfortunately, it's not as cool as other people that saw the original stuff. But it started with the '98 movie.
That was your introduction. Okay.
Yeah, and then my parents years later kind of schooled me a little bit. Told me there was an original movie. They would show me clips of like a couple of the films I think we had access to. I don't remember if we didn't own any Godzilla movies, but we definitely rented them a few times. And so I was really only acquainted with 98 and then just the other kaiju flicks that the monster battle of the year,
gotcha.
ones. And then I go to film school, or at least I start getting into more of the history of film through my middle school years. And then I backtrack. I'm like, oh, this had to have come from somewhere. And I did do my research. And then I ended up watching King of the Monsters before I saw the original because Criterion didn't end up picking it up until like 2004. So it took a little bit of while for me to acquire it.
The Criterion one is 2011.
2011. Oh wait, okay.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm thinking even further back. Yeah,
that's when they did that because Toho actually did their own remaster like a couple years later that is superior to the Criterion one. So,
okay,
yeah,
that might explain it then. Yeah, because I wasn't too well versed with that original print, but
yeah, people don't you got to remember, like you got to think about at the time period we're talking about, like things were not just readily available. There was not a channel or a streaming service or anything. So if you didn't go out and seek these things yourselves or have somebody give it to you, let you borrow it, go rent it, whatever, like you just wouldn't have any awareness of it. I mean, at all. Like, 'cause so it's kind of I guess it's cool nowadays.
Right.
Is it though? Is it cool though? It kind of cheapens it. Makes it like it's like not having to work for stuff. I don't think is a good thing.
It's something and it's it's like sort of the cult aspect of it starts to like lose you a little bit more now when more people know about a product or a property and then they kind of like fan base can like, speaking of The Crow, like I like the movie fine. That fan base I cannot stand.
Is there a Crow fan base?
There's like an underground cult that thinks it's like the next Citizen Kane, pretty much.
They think like Wicked Prayer is the best one. That's when you get into the real Crow fans. Like, no, actually Eddie Furlong was pretty great in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give him credit.
Yeah, listen, Eddie Furlong, that was one of his greatest performances. The Crow, Wicked Prayer. I think that could be the David Boreanaz one. I'm not sure.
Right.
But anyways, so you end up tracking back. At this point in your life, have you like seen most of them? Have you seen all of them?
I haven't seen all of them. I'll say firsthand, but I've seen most of them. I've seen like clips and reviews and abridged versions of all of them, but
yeah. Well, because we kind of talked about this when we were talking about the Turtles. Like, how does a new generation become familiar with these things?
Right.
And did you have any influence by the one and only James Rolfe?
At one point, yes.
I was going to say, because he talked about these all the time.
His Godzilla-thon series. And it harkened back because I probably have the most memories with what they would call the Millennium era of Godzilla. That one last like resurgence leading up to like Godzilla Final Wars, which is probably the one I'm the most, still to this day, the most nostalgic for. Would rent a lot.
I can see that.
Yeah.
They're just like, what? All the popular styles of movie at the time were just like crammed into Godzilla Final Wars.
Yeah.
They're having Matrix fights.
Right.
It's awesome. It's actually, if I have one complaint about Godzilla Final Wars is that there's too much people. There's too many people in that movie. There's too much shit in that movie, but it's fun. We watch it a lot around here, actually. Right. We watch the Millennium era a lot. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is a fucking banger, dude.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the sequel, which is very rare that they have direct sequels to each other. I think it's Tokyo SOS, which kind of completes the story. Those are super fun movies. Right. So much fun. It has the best Mechagodzilla versus Godzilla fight is in that one, in my opinion. For me, I was always kind of a passive fan of Godzilla. Like, I had seen the movies kind of here and there, like on cable over the years, but I didn't have a huge, strong attachment to them. I can't even remember the first time I saw the 1954 Godzilla. I know I saw it like when I was a kid, but it was a long time before I saw them again. I probably got reinterested in them around the time Legendary started putting out their movies, just because kind of Godzilla was back in the zeitgeist a little bit. Kind of like yourself, though, I did grow up watching the Roland Emmerich Godzilla 98 movie. Yeah. I mean, that was a huge movie. It was kind of inescapable at the time. Everybody I knew saw it. Everybody I knew didn't know what to think of it, I suppose. I feel like that was kind of the general consensus of a lot of kids at that time, because it's a very character heavy movie. It is very unwieldy. It's bloated. Yep. It's a Roland Emmerich movie, essentially, for lack of a better way. Like, that's just how that guy makes movies, Arius Tinker says Final Wars is a masterpiece. Hey, listen, I'm not going to judge you for that. It's a fun ass movie.
Yeah.
So I grew up kind of with that, and then didn't really get back into it until my kids. It's my son Foster. He just really took a liking to Godzilla, and we became a Godzilla house. I was going to take pictures of his room, but that kid's got all his walls covered with posters, Godzilla toys, talking to like every era of Godzilla toy. We buy stuff from like the 1954 thing. We buy the Millennium era stuff. We've got Legendary stuff from the newer movies. And that's been a lot of fun. Kind of vicariously living through him and experiencing a lot of these things.
Yeah.
It's a cool way to do that, because I didn't get a chance to do that when I was a kid. But, also for myself, like, a lot of my awareness of those movies is 100% from James Rolfe.
Yeah.
Even when I was in my 20s, he was making those videos and I would watch them. And it got me to check a few of them out even back in the day.
Right. And those early videos too, they're so short and sweet, but they really do put you into that childlike mindset again of like watching those for the first time and just being like, oh, you know what? The story doesn't necessarily have to make sense. A lot of these movies don't hold up. The costuming is kind of wonky, but this is just so cool to see monsters just punching the shit out of each other.
Yeah, there's something about like the material nature of it. Like we talk about this all the time, the texture of it, right? Like there's just something cool about it. Even if it's a little old fashioned, anachronistic, it doesn't hold up to modern standards. Of course not. It's kind of its own thing. Like rubber monster movies are their own thing.
Yeah. And
you either can just accept it and go with it or not, I mean, I think the movie we're going to talk about, 1954's Godzilla, kind of stands starkly apart from pretty much every Godzilla movie that came after it, or kaiju-related movie that came after it. I mean, 1954 is like a serious meditation on the H-bomb and the responsibility of scientists and creation and watching Japan basically real from being decimated in World War II.
Right.
I mean, that's what the movie's about. And about how, as a society, they're dealing with it. It parallels very much with Godzilla -1 in that way. But yeah, they're a lot of fun, man. I mean, Ishiro Hondo as a director too, like, he gets his start making World War II movies. Does a lot of World War II stuff. Hones in his craft, like using miniatures to do dogfights and stuff. That's kind of where his skill set was at. That's what he was developing. And then he makes Godzilla, and it kind of changes the trajectory of his career essentially, because he basically becomes the kaiju movie guy, the kaiju monster movie guy. And he works for Toho, and he directs pretty much all the good ones. Pretty much. There's a few other ones that he didn't direct that are also pretty good, but he did things like he did Rodan, he did Ghidorah, like their own separate movies, Invasion of the Astro Monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a very, very cool, very talented director in his own right, even before he did Godzilla. And it's interesting, him being like into kind of the World War II filmmaking makes him kind of a perfect match for this material without realizing it. I was kind of like curious about, like, I wonder what they were thinking when they went in to make this movie. You know what I mean? Because he had done like a bunch of serious domestic dramas and war dramas up until that point.
Yeah.
I wonder if he thought he was kind of having fun or making a lark, or if this was like the deathly serious thing. It seems like it is, because it kind of it presents itself very seriously.
Yeah, and I think that's why it didn't do well over in the States at the time of its reception, because it is kind of what you're saying, the juggling of those tones, where it's a very, very serious character drama first, and you juxtapose it with, at this point in time too, because we've already had our Universal monsters and a lot of these other like big pieces. I mean, America comes up with King Kong and everything too, and of course that finds overlap in the future as well. But people had like a certain sort of already associated a camp factor with these kinds of designs.
Yes.
And then to see it played so straight, I don't even really think there's, like, rewatching this, I don't think there was ever really a joke or any like moments of like levity.
No, not really. Well, not in the. I mean, when
not
Raymond Burr was there, that was some knee slappers.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you believe they did that to that fucking movie? Anyways, like, they're like, yeah, can we have the licensing rights? Of course, we're excited. Yes, show it to American audiences. Okay, we're gonna reshoot like a third of it and re-edit it. Fucking assholes. But anyways, yeah, no, I agree. Like, there is no levity to the movie. It's very, very serious. But it's such a well constructed movie, though.
Right.
It kind of coming out of the gate. I gotta bring up my notes here. Just coming out of the gate, the way that the movie begins, like the ominous nature of the scrawl of the credits, right? And it starts in silence, and then you hear that like the microphone noise, kind of, and then you just start hearing Godzilla roars.
Yep.
Which is just like this terrifying, monstrous, like kind of like guttural scream, almost more than a roar. It's like all of these different kind of sound elements. It's so, excuse me. I mean, I know that it has kind of an iconic sense of it now in the world, like where we see that and it kind of makes us happy to hear the Godzilla roar. But in the context of this movie, it's kind of like terrifying.
It's like an ear-piercing, like sort of, just like almost like a scream of just pain and agony and even anger. Just like something that's all at once.
That's the perfect way to put it. Because this movie, it's the cool thing about this, and it's something I think is often, I don't hear remarked on very often. I think people forget. They actually just flat out tell you where Godzilla's from in this movie. They literally tell you, like, yeah, they were like, because of all the atom bombs being dropped in the ocean and stuff, it kind of fucked up his underground cave. Like, he's basically a dinosaur that's been trapped either or lives underground, hibernation or something, right? And then he comes up to the surface and he's all irradiated and burnt and charred and angry and upset.
Yeah,
it's basically nature fighting back. Essentially, that's kind of the subtext of it. It's like, he's viewed as a force of nature in the movie, and he himself is a product of man's intervention with the natural world. Mm-hmm. And that's very, very much a big part of it, because that's a big part of like the dilemma that the scientist who ends up making this kind of what's the name of the bomb? The oxygen killer.
The oxygen, yeah, the oxygen, yeah.
I think it's the oxygen killer. I could be wrong, but anyways, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the big capsule.
That's one of his big dilemmas because it's it's dealing with, like we said, the fallout of World War II, no pun intended, and the idea of even creating stuff like, should we even be messing with this kind of stuff? Look at the consequences of it. Like, we can do it. We can make these things. Should we do it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, look what just happened to our country. Like, and they woke up a fucking Godzilla as a result. Like, you know what I mean? And that's what's so great about the movie, because it kind of seriously grapples with those things, and it uses genre and science fiction in the best way to use it, which is to talk about real things in an abstract way to kind of make it easier to digest and more understandable for people. Like, sometimes people can't deal with reality.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to give them a little bit of like a metaphor or an allegory or something, right? To make people feel comfortable with learning the lessons. Let me see here. Aeneas Tinker says, what? Splicing Godzilla DNA with a rose doesn't make sense? Just a little bit. He also says it's destroyer. Yes, the oxygen destroyer. But yeah, I don't know. What do you have any like kind of initial thoughts? Or?
But yeah. I mean, to what you said though too, and him being like essentially a documentary filmmaker up until this point, it really does feel like that. I mean, there's some times where it does feel a little bit staged, but I mean, just shots of just people fleeing or reacting to what Godzilla is doing. Like, it's actually very still in that same vein, and it captures just that haunting meditation of what life in Japan was at that time, or even, like just after World War II. And just, and this is something I really took away from it, is just the expressions on people's faces and just the level of strength and bottling up of emotions that a lot of these people on screen still show and carry in themselves, even after just complete devastation. You don't see that kind of strength of character as often in the West. It's actually, if anything, today it's very...
We're not allowed to anymore.
We're not allowed, yeah.
No, I agree with you, but there's so much like pathos in those. So it's like strength and resolve, but it's also like this helpless quality and this kind of feeling lost. Like the first time, I don't think it's this scene, but the first time that Godzilla shows up and he's like just destroying their infrastructure. He's just destroying this village's like electricity.
Right.
And they're just standing there and they're like, holy shit.
It's not working.
What are we going to do? Like, what are we going to do? Like, this thing, you can't nuke this thing. You can't electrocute it to death. No, the bullets don't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that shot, dude. Look at that.
It's so good. And it's so great knowing that, like, the actor in the suit is probably, like, dying from a heat stroke right now.
And it makes me feel good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like, we like to suffer for our art around here. Let's see. I know the guy's name. Let me see here. Original Godzilla actor. Well, I don't know his name, rather. But yeah, and it's something you don't see, especially from this era of science fiction movie. A lot of times they're a little bit campier, a little bit sillier.
Yeah.
Than this. Even when dealing with things like this, I kind of thinking about. I watched recently War of the Worlds from the 50s. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a very campy, silly movie. It does not reach the levels of Godzilla. I mean, look at that shit, dude. Hold on. Let's go back for a second here. Oh my god. I mean, oh my god.
It's still like so well. The fog, the lighting, the glow that like his scales kind of give off. It's still so cool.
Oh yeah, and I think like the black and white nature of it is like so key to its aesthetic. It's almost got like a noir vibe to it.
Right.
Like the night scenes with Godzilla. And it's just an amazing like kind of technical achievement for its time. But like I gotta say, I think it works really well today. Like that Godzilla costume is so gnarly looking. It's so ugly that you can't help but be kind of afraid of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it gives me the creeps. It straight up gives me the creeps.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what he did. Look what Godzilla did.
That
he got up
scamp.
to.
Yeah.
That scamp.
These are the shots where I'd say like,
oh, thank you, YouTube. Thank you
yeah.
for the fucking. Thank you.
No, yeah, the Lego cars like spiraling out of control and falling over. Like,
yeah, if you were
maybe
to
cut that just a little shorter or something.
If you were to criticize anything that doesn't hold up, is definitely some of the miniature work with the vehicles. Yes.
Yeah.
Although that's a tradition they've carried on up until
right.
I mean, up into the like at least Godzilla 2000.
Yeah.
Where they, did that kind of model work. It's kind of almost like a tradition for them over there,
and
which I think is cool because it just adds to the vibe, the texture.
Yeah. Well, it's fitting for those later films for sure. Because I'd say for me at a younger age, like it was just reminding me of being like, oh yeah, I could make something like that too and make it look, just kind of like immerse you into that.
Hey,
time.
listen, as a young filmmaker, or aspiring filmmaker, it does give you that kind of sense because you're like, that is possible.
Yeah.
And I could do that. I don't know how to do it now, and maybe I don't have the resources or the money, but that's achievable. That's the thing you could do. That's how I felt. I remember when I was a kid, I used to be so enamored with the Evil Dead movies.
Yeah.
Especially Evil Dead 2. And a lot of that was because I wanted to make like a grindhouse kind of horror movie. And I was like, oh, I could actually do that. I mean, not literally, but you could see the handmade nature of it. It lets you know that it's possible. Yep. It's like kind of exciting to watch. I still get Jones. I still get like jacked up watching like that Godzilla footage. I think it's so well put together. That scene is so well paced.
Yeah.
And it shows you just enough,
just what he's capable of at like full force and not, and this brought me back to is just, I'm so watching this again and Godzilla -1 and Shin Godzilla. I have no interest or impulse to want to go back to any of those legacy movies really at all anymore. Like
oh, you mean the legendary ones?
Oh, the legendary. Sorry, why did I say legacy? Any of the legendary movies, I saw.
I know exactly what you mean. I think if you like for me, because I feel the same way most of the time.
Yeah.
But I have come to just accept them as big dumb movies for kids, and that's kind of what they are. Like, especially now, after Godzilla versus Kong, like they are just big dumb movies for kids. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not trying at anything. Like when 2014 came out, Gareth Edwards, they went for pathos. They went for something a little bit darker, more serious, And it's just gotten progressively sillier because at the end of the day, that's kind of what a modern audience wants out of these movies.
Yeah.
But
I at this point though, I just don't even have a care with how they characterize Godzilla now. I don't want him to be the indifferent creature feature. I like him being like a force of destruction. Like he is the evil threat that needs to be put down.
Yeah, it's definitely my preference for Godzilla movies because the 60s and 70s ones, the campy ones. I mean, they're fun to watch, but they're retarded. Like they're so dumb.
Right.
Like you cannot they're just vehicles for the last 20 minutes. Like you're just like, okay, yeah, oh look, crazy scientists. All right, cool. Yeah. Oh, Ultraman or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Not Ultraman. My son would kill me.
Jet Jaguar.
Jet Jaguar. Thank you.
That's my PlayStation name, I think.
Yeah, we're big Jet Jaguar fans around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get with it. Yeah.
Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, dude. That's a banger. That's a banger one. I love that one. It's got like all the aliens from outer space that look like apes. It's awesome. Yeah. And it's kind of a sequel to Invasion of the Astro Monsters, I think. It's kind of like a sequel to it.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I have like, as in my personal preference, I definitely agree with you. Like I like the more serious, although I feel like Godzilla -1 kind of nails it by being a big populist kind of crowd pleaser while also being a serious Godzilla movie.
Yes. Yeah.
It definitely is the one that hews the closest to the 1954 film 100%.
Yeah. I'd argue, and that one being definitely much more hopeful by the end than than even this one.
This one's a downer. It's
it ends on the last 3 minutes. I'm just like, oh God, like, am I supposed to be like happy? Like this is like a victorious day that they stopped Godzilla, or should I be dreading the fact that what's his name?
The doctor
Serizawa, offs himself in the process too. And and I like that though too because he felt it was a noble thing to do.
It's not just a noble thing to do. He cannot live in a world where his oxygen destroyer will be used for other things.
Right.
And it is the perfect kind of through line for the subtext of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is like essentially is just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
And then if you're brought to the point where you have to do something, you should the world will never be the same. Like you've changed something fundamentally about existence. It's so funny because we were talking about Oppenheimer earlier. It's kind of a perfect. It kind of all works together. You know, Godzilla -1, Oppenheimer, and then coming back and watching this, because Oppenheimer in a lot of ways is about the same ideas as the 1954 Godzilla. Like everybody's trying to create this thing. Everybody kind of knows that it's incredibly dangerous and that it's going to change the world in a fundamental way. And everybody is kind of forced to do it because they're in kind of an arms race. So in 1954 with Godzilla, the scientist, he kind of has to do it. He has no choice. It's like either I do this, I let this out into the world, or Godzilla destroys everything. It's the only chance we have, you know?
Right.
And but Godzilla -1 has this great. It shouldn't work. It should be cheesy, and I should think it'd be cynical and not like it. But I was so happy, like the last couple minutes of Godzilla -1, and we won't spoil it because, like we said earlier, like it's not available to watch right now. Aeneas says legendary Godzilla is Roger Moore Bond movies, overblown and silly and fun. I see. That's kind of the way I feel about it. I think they're. I mean, at this point, they're just cartoons. They're like 80% just a CGI cartoon.
I agree with you.
I like watching it with my son. Like that's really, I know that they're not great though, but
I agree with you there. But like what I particularly don't like is that they don't fully treat them like they are cartoons though in the tone. Like they still take themselves way too seriously, even in those. So, well, to some extent, when it gets to the fighting, like not so much, but like I don't care about Millie Bobby Brown and her family issues. I don't care about like all these.
Well, like by the time it gets to Godzilla versus Kong, they have stopped that. Like they don't care. They don't seriously care about it anymore. Like they tried to, right? With their King of the Monsters, the one that came out like 2017 or whatever. They tried, and no, now they're just really dumb. I mean, I can't even imagine how dumb the new one's going to be. I will tell everybody, trust me, come back here the week after that movie comes out. I will have seen it. My kid we literally have it marked on the calendar.
Yeah.
Like I don't let him watch a ton of YouTube and stuff, but he likes watching, because, I'm raising the new generation of movie nerd. So he's like watches trailer breakdowns and lore videos. And like, so he's trying to figure out everything about the movie. Dude, he's like so excited. It's ridiculous. Wow. Ridiculous. I was like, kid, I wish I had like half of your enthusiasm for anything that you have for this movie.
Yeah.
So that's going to be cool. I will say that's going to be cool just to see it from that perspective, but it's not
right.
Those are movies I would never argue with anybody about. I would never go to the mat. Like I would never debate. Like if somebody said, "Oh, I really don't like those movies. I think they're stupid." I'd be like, "Yeah, I get it."
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I totally get it. I do kind of, I mean, outside of the practical nature and the intentional camp of the old ones though, I kind of sometimes I don't understand people that are huge fans of the older Godzillas like criticizing these ones for being stupid. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, if you want to measure it to the 1954 one, like I get that, but if you're talking about like Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, comparing it to Godzilla versus King Kong, like there's not that much distance between those movies. Like there really isn't.
Not a ton. I think it's more of a cultural thing. I think for me, I guess there's the Japanese camp that I actually just kind of like to have on in the background. It's fun. It's fluffy.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's just like the American camp feels like it doesn't know half the time what kind of tone it really wants. Sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's not going.
It shouldn't
for
be
camp.
because it shouldn't be hard. Like just pick serious or goofy, and then just roll with it.
I think they've picked Goofy. I think that's where we're going now.
You think we're okay?
Oh yes, dude. I mean, King Kong's got like a robot arm thing to give him more strength.
Right.
I like at some point you're like, okay, fuck it, we'll watch it, dude.
Yeah.
There's a whole tribe of killer apes that live in the Hollow Earth. One of them is called the Scar King. It's like my kid all the time randomly just comes up to me. He's like, so another thing. He's like, remember that freeze frame I showed you? That's Shimu. I'm like, oh, okay. It's the ice dragon, Dad.
Right.
Like, I can't wait. Can't wait. I'm serious. I can't wait to go take him to see that.
I hope they do a re-release of the Emmerich movie again. 'Cause I want to go back and.
No, we are not allowed to culturally reassess the 1998 Godzilla. I will not allow it.
I missed out on this. I need this for me. I need to hear Puff Daddy on those like Dolby speakers.
Yeah, and if anybody's, I used to do a thing called Hot Reacts Only. If you go look on the YouTube page, I actually did one for Puff Daddy's "Come with Me." it's like my over analysis of the Puff Daddy music video "Come with Me." That was it samples Kashmir, the Led Zeppelin song Kashmir.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, just going back to the 1954 film, I mean, it's paced so well. It does such a good job of kind of introducing you to the world and the characters and the stakes. Like it has a really great like 20 minutes of like kind of mystery about what is going on and them trying to figure it out. And all of these kind of mysterious things happen. And there's the storms that are kind of raging and coming up. They're like, this isn't natural. This is out of season. Something is fucking with like the ecology out there.
Yeah.
And they're, obviously making a commentary on what like nuclear fallout does to the environment.
Well, and I didn't even live during this time, but a lot of it also feels like a realistic response from all these different factions of the Japanese populace in the time. Like, so the way the military, the way the scientists, the way that a lot of people are not really sure what to do with all this new information. I mean, this led to all the tropes that we would see in later incarnations of this character, but this kind of starts it all, and everybody's kind of in their own sort of frenzy.
Everybody has their own motives. Like they have their own desires, what they're trying to kind of get out of this experience, almost, right?
Yeah, the Professor Yamane character, he wants to study this thing, like for most of the film, and like. I hate seeing that trope often, like in like later movies that are kind of like this, but like here, like you would have a guy that would be like that. This is like
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Who would? I mean, he has like qualms about it because, like Jeremy said, he's like he wants to study it. He's like, this is like the last of its kind. This is the last dinosaur. There's a living dinosaur out there, guys. I'm a fucking paleontologist. Of course, I want to study the dinosaur. And if you fucking nuke it or oxygen destroy it, there's gonna be nothing left. Because there is kind of a melancholy about the whole thing. Like Godzilla, even though he's doing what he's doing, is in his own way a victim of the atom bomb.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, and they kind of acknowledge that. That's what that character's there for. There to kind of acknowledge, like, this was done to him too. Like, what do you think he would be upset? He was irradiated. It's like set on fire underwater. Godzilla's sleeping in his cave underwater for 2,000 years or whatever. Gets woken up by the H bomb. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like that. But it represents all those different viewpoints.
Right.
And and another I would say is the third best Godzilla movie, Shin Godzilla. It even has an element because Shin Godzilla is kind of a satire, and it's all about Japanese bureaucracy and the way their government functions in incredibly inefficient ways. That one's about Fukushima, essentially. But there's even that in here, where there's a bunch of bureaucrats and they don't really know what to do, and they're all trying to figure out and making decisions. Nobody knows what they're talking about.
There's the one lady who's just like, we need to get this out to the public now. He's like, quiet, silence.
Yeah, you can't just be telling everybody, Yeah.
I
mean, they're going to find out soon enough, but you don't want anybody to panic,
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love, like, there's so many great moments, and actually I would say the professor's kind of character arc is probably my favorite character arc.
Yes.
Dr. Yamane, because he really has to grapple with it and come to terms with it. And he is just like, it's such like a human moment where he has to literally be confronted with its destruction to understand, even start to understand why this cannot be allowed to be. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like in those Jurassic World movies where they have a bunch of like save the dinosaur activists.
Yeah.
And like, you're like, what?
Right.
Like, I understand that it's not their fault, guys. We get that. But dinosaurs and humans can't coexist in current day.
Yeah, they're not supposed to be here.
They're not supposed to be here anymore. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's I was like, this says everything about the modern moment.
It's so easy a second grader can get it. Yeah.
It's like, this is like a metaphor for immigration policy in 2024. Like, yes, the liberal white women being like, save the dinosaurs, let them move into my house. Anyways.
Yeah. I was gonna say, the professor, he's played by Takashi Shimura, who and that's the other, he's really great. He was probably maybe my MVP, I don't know.
My MVP is Raymond Burr.
Raymond Burr. There you go.
Well, he's all the way back from like Seven Samurai.
I was gonna say like these movies.
Akiru, he's the star of Akiru.
Yeah, I was gonna say like these are a lot of Kurosawa like regulars that are like scattered in some of these movies too. At least the ones that are directed by.
Because Ishiro Honda and Akira Kurosawa were like best friends.
Yeah,
and they came up in the industry together. Actually, a lot of their early films parallel each other because they're all about like wartime films. Actually, Ishiro Honda tried to retire after he made the second Mechagodzilla versus Godzilla movie. It was like the Terror of Mechagodzilla, which is not very good. But he wanted to retire, and Akira Kurosawa was like, "You can't retire. No, you're gonna come work for me." So then he just worked with Akira Kurosawa on it, like those late 70s through the 80s up until his death, pretty much.
Yeah.
In 1993, I believe he died. And that was actually kind of like a funny, like heartwarming story, like two bros that are on completely different ends of like the artistic spectrum of what people kind of view them as. And they have just it's kind of awesome to me that Akira Kurosawa had like the Godzilla movies. Like, that's cool. Yeah. That's awesome to me, and that he respected Ishiro Honda's like acumen and skill and talent so much that he used him in all of his movies.
Yeah,
that was really cool. Actually, you see that a lot with a lot of the actors. There's lots of crossover.
Right.
Some of these guys, like Dr. Serizawa, the guy who invents the oxygen destroyer
with the badass eye patch.
Yeah, he went on to do bit parts in like a ton of Godzilla movies. He's in a lot of them. Worked with Ishiro Honda a bunch of more times on them. I thought that was kind of cool. Something that I didn't realize. I did not notice that. Yeah, and he also was like in the Ultra Q, some of the Ultraman movies. I mean, Ishiro Honda did a bunch of that stuff too. Ishiro Honda actually even directed he did one American movie, which is King Kong versus Godzilla. He directed that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For Universal, which is not good. If you want to watch like a decent Universal movie from that era, you got to watch King Kong Escapes with Mecha G. There's a mecha King Kong that King Kong has to fight. It's awesome. But it's actually like the sequel to Godzilla or King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah.
For the old one, and it's actually awesome. Ishiro Honda, I believe, directed that too.
Where does Mecha King Kong? Do you remember where he comes from in that?
Oh God! It's like, dude, there's. It's like some evil scientist wants to mine for something, and he invents a mecha or King Kong to dig, and then it like decides it wants to not do that anymore and like turns on everybody, and then King Kong shows up, and they're like, oh, now we got to fight King Kong. It's a very like it's very convoluted.
Right.
It doesn't make much sense. It kind of just washes over you. But the last 20 minutes are awesome. And I would even say the last 20 minutes of King Kong versus Godzilla, the old one, is awesome. It's when he shoves a fucking tree down Godzilla's
Classic.
throat.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's so much fun. Yeah, but it's and I really love that even like they have a lot of they had balls in this movie too. Like the first time you see Godzilla is during the day.
Right.
He's peeking over the hill. He's got
Yeah.
that little like peeking over the hill. Yells. Everybody's like, ah! And they run and they take off.
I had it almost at full volume with my headphones in, watching it just on Max recently, and it actually got a couple jump scares out of me this time around too. Especially when you see what the oxygen killer is like capable of in the flashback.
Yeah.
And you see the fish bones just completely like dry up and on screen. It's like, whoa.
Well, because it's cool because it's another credit to Honda, like understanding like even the oxygen destroyer has to be a reveal. So they kind of they foreshadow it because they don't show you the result of it the first time she reacts to it. It's all on her face. It's only when they do the flashback that you actually see what she saw.
Yeah.
Like the gravity of the devastation that can occur. Sorry.
Right. But it definitely adds. It's not like a major factor, but it definitely adds to what can also feel like a really low key horror movie, which you would not apply to the rest of the franchise.
No,
probably ever.
No, this one is so different than up until basically Godzilla -1.
Yeah.
I mean, even the one right after Godzilla Raids Again is like. Oh, it's not as silly as like some of the ones like that follow it, but it's already like, oh, people like Godzilla.
Yeah.
Like, let's show Godzilla doing crazy shit. I think Anguirus, I believe, is the guy, the kaiju that he fights in that one. I have to ask my son; he would know.
Yeah.
He literally would know. He'd tell you what year it was from too. It's like kind of crazy.
Right.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing in the world because I just was not a big Godzilla person. I just never was really until I had my kid and we just like randomly watched one day, and ever since then it's been full on Godzilla.
Yeah.
But
so are you more of a so would you say you lean more Godzilla than you do King Kong, or
yes?
How do you? Okay.
Yes, 100%.
'Cause I do too. Yeah.
I mean, I like actually King Kong. It's another popular movie around here.
Yeah.
Around my house. My son, he loves the 1934 King Kong. He loves it, which is always baffles me. Because I'm just like, I just don't understand why you would like it, but he does. He does. I'm a fan of it. I've actually probably seen that one more than I've seen the original Godzilla. But
yeah, me too.
I mean, they're very cool, and like again, it's kind of like in the same way when you go back and watch Godzilla, like you're just kind of marveling at their ingenuity as filmmakers and being able to pull some of that stuff off at that time.
Yeah,
like using kind of the I guess was it rear projection they were using and matching the shots, and like there's a big mechanical hand. I mean, there's so much cool stuff in that. But so you're more of a Godzilla person than a King Kong person? You got no respect for Kong?
There's only one king of the monsters in this realm, and it's not in the wet. No, I mean, I like them both differently if I'm really breaking it down, but I would say I've seen King Kong more, but because it's just one film.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't want to count the other, I mean, it was. But
Son of Kong does not count.
Yeah. But I think what also like appeals to me and speaks to the times that they were made in, and what we're seeing now with all these like CGI incarnations, -1 and Shin Godzilla exempt. I just like the blank stares. I like the animalistic nature of these characters. I don't want to know what they are feeling. I don't want to see expressions, in their faces, really. And I don't want to see what are just straight up cartoons at that point.
I gotcha. Yeah. Well, because there is like it's like hyper real,
right?
But there's something I think we just appreciate and kind of have a taste for older stuff. I think that's just kind of, it's a taste thing at least for me. But there is just something different about a CGI creation and something that is physically there. There's just something different to your eye, the way it feels, the idea that you can just feel like you could reach out and touch it. Like, that's what I mean about the newer ones. They're just like cartoons. They're cartoons. They might as well be just cartoons.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, just don't even hire actors. Just make a big CGI movie. I mean, at some point, what's the difference? Like, what are you even doing?
Yeah, why even call Disney's Jon Favreau's The Lion King a live action movie? It's just one.
Dude,
big cartoon.
that was crazy. I cannot believe they called that a live action movie. I'm like, there's not a single shot of live action in this entire fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's like somebody asked me, they're like, well, what did you think of the new Lion King? I'm like, well, just take the Lion King and then remove all its charm and wit and and brevity, and then you have the new one. Yeah. It's just like a charmless version of the same movie. Awful.
And that's an example on the opposite end where they don't even make the animals expressive. They just they try their best to make them look like real animals that talk.
Well, you know, they did.
It's a weird disconnect, though.
They did another one. They did. Remember when there was like the Warring Jungle Book movies?
Yeah.
Because they had the Jon Favreau did the one for Disney, and then there was like that other one that Andy Serkis did.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis, when all the actors that play the animals did mocap for their faces, and they mapped like humanistic faces onto the animals, and it is the most terrifying.
It's so disturbing.
Thing. It's so weird. Like Christian Bale's like coming at it, like I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's Christian Bale's face, but it's not. It's like on a leopard.
Yeah.
Like this is crazy. This is weird as fuck.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, I found out the guy's name who's the actor in the suit, Haru Nakajima.
Okay.
The Godzilla suit used for the film was so hot inside that the actor would frequently faint. So you got your wish. Yeah, he almost died.
Just like I wanted.
Just like we wanted, exactly.
That is commitment to the craft.
Listen, it is. It is. But yeah, I mean, I guess there's not like a ton. We've kind of covered it because you can cover it in kind of broad strokes.
Yeah,
but I don't. But it's talking about so many kind of things on different levels. Like I can't even imagine. I can't imagine being Japanese in the 1950s. Like, and what that must have felt like as a people, as a culture, and like Godzilla is an artistic expression of that moment, and that's why it's like kind of. It's sad. It's really sad. It's a really sad movie. Yeah. Like just top to bottom. I mean, these people can't catch a break. No. You know, we're bombing them. Godzilla's fucking destroying all their stuff. And they're just like, what?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That's why I like the -1 tile too. Because before Godzilla shows up, they are already at ground zero. How lower can they get? Oh, Godzilla. But the hope, I mean, yeah, we don't want to spoil anything, but the hope you feel by that, but yeah.
Dude, Godzilla -1, and I will say this, if people are a fan of the 1954 one and they haven't had an opportunity to see -1, as soon as it comes out, make that a priority, because it's, you know, I would hesitate to say that it's better than Godzilla, because you can't have Godzilla -1 cannot exist without Godzilla, so it can't, I don't think it can be better, but fuck, it gets close, dude. Like, because it just delivers on like every aspect that this movie is also like kind of delivering on, but just more,
right?
In a more impressive way. I mean, holy, like the attack sequence in -1 when he attacks the city, dude, like holy shit. I'm sure people have seen pictures of it, but it's crazy when you actually see the movie.
Right. Yeah.
You see the scene. Actually, it might be here.
I have to, if you can find no, I had to convince my own dad, who like regards all of these movies, even the original 1954 film, as just like total camp, not worth your time, just like goofy. And I'm like, give -1 a chance. I mean, you gotta put on, I don't know, not even like nostalgia goggles or even feel like you're a kid. You just gotta like go in knowing they don't make movies like this over here. With this kind of concept, it's just like it's unheard of right now.
Yeah, and having like characters that are like
having characters
of their country and like want to like do something good. And, which we used to do quite a bit over here.
We used to, yeah.
We don't anymore. Let me see here. Well, I have. Here's 30 seconds. You know, actually, when I saw, I won't play the sound, but when I first saw this. I hate to say this, but I did record a part of the movie on my phone for my kid, and which I don't recommend doing. You shouldn't do. I was pretty low key about it, but they immediately took it down. I couldn't put it up anywhere. He got taken down off of Twitter.
Wow.
Which I was like, that's usually nothing gets taken down unless, like, because, I don't have a profile or an account that anybody's going to notice.
That's faster than all the Spider-Man No Way Home clips that leaked because a bunch of like Mexican audiences were just like getting clips of it of Tobey Maguire and everybody.
That's how Dan Profit watched the movie the first time, was just clips on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like he pieced together the story by watching all these clips people were uploading. Oh yeah. This is not going to sell it, but dude, this is so.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and we were talking about CGI, right? We were talking about the Legendary movies. I mean, this is a full CGI creation, but I feel like just the attention to the detail, the way they treat him, they actually kind of treat it like a guy in a suit.
Yes,
actually.
That's what I love about those two movies, because they're they know they can like block some of the uncanniness of CGI to still have it move around and look and be modeled after, like you say, like a suit. Here, I mean,
like
this is a bad example. That's a bad example.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as we're talking about it, he does something that a guy in a suit could not do.
Yeah.
No, but like for the most part, he's a very stoic, lumbering, slow-moving creature. He's very vicious.
Yeah.
Especially when you get him in water. He's like a mogwai after midnight.
Right.
He gets very upset. Yeah, but this, I mean, thank you.
Even in Shin Godzilla, when he that first initial form he takes before he's even like full Godzilla, like red piercing like burns coming through his like crisp skin, like you don't see like this like weird Muppet looking dead-eyed, doughy-eyed like creature like crawling through the town. Like I remember when I saw it in the theater, like I shook my friend Jake's like shoulder, like this is insane. Yeah.
Well, because it's Shin Godzilla did like you said had done it too, but this movie does it as well. Like it recognizes and acknowledges that Godzilla has been hit by a nuke.
Yeah,
and he's all scarred and fucked up because of it. I would say even in Shin Godzilla, that's even more a part of the point. Like, because that is such an interesting, novel way to approach doing a Godzilla movie, and even the way they treat Godzilla in that movie is very unique to the series. I mean, he literally is just like this lumbering thing that's just like just walking, falls over, hibernates for a while, turns into something else. It's great. It's awesome.
Stubbiest arms too. Like I don't know how he like pushes or picks anything up. He just moves his whole body.
Well, that movie is cool because they use Godzilla as a ticking clock.
Yeah.
They literally use the physical transformations of a Godzilla as a ticking clock that everybody is kind of racing against.
Yeah.
Before he starts moving again, it's awesome. Yeah. It's really cool.
Watching 1954 Godzilla again too, like. I'm drinking some Japanese Sapporo premium beer right now just to be in theme here. There is a drinking game you could probably do from here on out, like all the things that have spawned from that original film. If a train appears, Godzilla's probably going to wreck it and kill most of the people inside of it.
Yep.
Military shows up. Military is incompetent. They will shoot railguns. They will shoot missiles. They will try to electrocute, all to no avail. It just never works out.
Oh yeah, what would you do, buddy? And I was joking. You piece of shit, slagging off these boys.
I would just like suck out all the oxygen out of H2O and see what happens. And I honestly, it is a little far fetched. I wonder how much like. What is like the stretch span of like? I mean, because he uses a bigger sample size of like. Serizawa of what he's been experimenting with for I don't even know how long. It's probably why he lost an eye or something.
Well, I assume he's from like a holdover from the war.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I mean, he's cast way too young for that, but I think that's what the implication is.
Yeah.
Like it's part of that, like we were talking about earlier with the Oppenheimer kind of parallel, where it's like this arms race.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that creation was kind of his way of like dealing with that. Like, well, we're going to have our own fucking super killer.
Yeah.
And then he realizes what he did.
Sure.
He's like, I may have been too hasty here.
Yeah.
But like, it's just, I don't know. I think for what it is, it's nearly a perfect movie. It's like perfectly paced. And like I said, like just from the jump, I wish I could live in a world where I didn't know what Godzilla was and I saw this for the first time. Because the build up to Godzilla is so good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even just the beginning with the fishermen's boats, and they're all like blowing up, and nobody knows what the hell's going on, and then all the people are like rushing the government offices, being like, "Well, what happened? Where are they? Where's my family?" You know,
Yeah.
like it's really harrowing stuff.
Mm-hmm. Even the you brought this up when we went through the trailer, and the trailer basically spells out everything that happens. There's a fun little parallel with that, and like the news reporters too over the radio, who are also just kind of reporting everything that happens, even as they know they're about to die. You know?
Yeah. Hey, listen, it's the dedication. You know,
Right? Yeah.
The people need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of like a Greek chorus almost. Like
Right.
they're kind of filling out like the plot and the what's going on. Where are we? You know, if you know, especially as a person that's not from Japan, has no idea what the geography really of Japan is or where anything would be. Like, where is Odo Island relative to Tokyo? Like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But those people, they kind of connect those dots. And when they did the American version, King of the Monsters, that's kind of what Raymond Burr does.
Mm-hmm.
He's there to explain to you things about Japanese culture that you wouldn't know, and to kind of recap parts of the plot as it's happening. It's kind of what he does, and he's there, and he talks to characters.
All while safe from danger. They
put him in the scenes.
They put him in the scenes.
And he's like, dude, like there's one of the saddest moments. Yeah. The first time Godzilla like destroys something, and it's when the doctor really has to come to terms, the paleontologist has to really come to terms with like the destructive nature of Godzilla, and we may have to destroy him and all this stuff. Like they're all just sitting on this embankment watching Godzilla in the distance destroy everything. And they're just like helpless, shell-shocked. And then there's just inserts of Raymond Burr being like, oh, wow, like with some dirt on his face. He was actually, I think he spent 6 days filming. That's it.
Yeah.
Although, credit to him, he did come back. He came back.
Does.
So
Yes.
in 1984 in Japan, 85 in America, The Return of Godzilla, which is kind of the OG, hey, let's ignore all of the previous sequels. This is the sequel to Godzilla.
Yeah.
So they have their Japanese version, and then when they brought it over to America, I guess I don't know if they did it for fun or they just wanted to honor or something like the original 56 version that nobody likes.
Yeah.
They did a similar thing where they like shot a bunch of stuff with Raymond Burr, insert him into the movie, cut a bunch of stuff out of the movie. I've actually watched it. I've watched that version of the movie not that long ago because we went through a period where we were like watching all of like the 85 all the way through the millennium era.
Right.
As a family, that's what we do at our house. Get together and watch old Godzilla movies, and it's so funny. It's so funny. But Raymond Burr actually really loved being a part of the franchise.
That's good.
It was something he was like proud of. He was like proud of it, and when he got to come back and do the new American one, he was like, hell yeah, I'm there. Let's do it. And it's fun as a novelty. It's fun and worth checking out as a novelty 100%.
Raymond Burr was or is to Godzilla what David Warner is to the Turtles. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So secret MVPs of Godzilla. This is going to be tough. There's thankfully there's not a lot of characters in this movie actually, like that have any like actual. You know who? Actually, I know who my secret MVP is. It's the old fisherman. When you first go to Odo Village and he's smoking cigarettes and he's just like staring out at the water.
Yeah.
And he's talking to that younger guy. That's my secret MVP.
Yeah.
Actually, I sincerely really like that performance because it kind of gives you a ground level, everyman perspective of what, like, because these people have old fashioned beliefs, like some of them. Like he's an older guy that still kind of has a sense of old Japanese culture, and he actually he gives a little monologue. He's like, back in my day, we would have sent a girl out into the ocean
to sacrifice
her to so bad things wouldn't happen, and we don't do that anymore. All we do is dance now. No wonder why this thing is here trying to destroy us.
Yeah, we're not going to argue in courtrooms over this. We're just going to
Which is so funny because it's
our
something
own.
they kind of incorporate into later Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
And it's not directly because they're not doing any human sacrifices, but there are. I think is it Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, where they have one of the main characters is this girl and she sings a song to wake up King Caesar.
Yes, she does the belly dance or whatnot.
Yeah. Which is it's the modern interpretation of a human sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's what the guy is talking about while he's looking out of the water talking to that young guy.
Yeah.
And they cut back to them too during the first big storm that's strikes hits the island. Mm-hmm. And if you watch the 56 version, they have that, and then they just cut to Raymond Burr, who's supposed to be to their left, being like, "Oh my god." It's so good.
There's got to be a video out there where it's
like a
Godzilla
supercut?
56, but it's just Raymond Burr.
Just a super cut of all the Raymond Burr scenes. I'm sure there's got to be.
Yeah.
Do you have a secret MVP? Anybody off the top of the noggin?
Not off the top. I mean, you brought up a good point though. Having it be this tight 90-minute film too, and still have such great level of world building. You're able to quickly associate this village is very different from this part of the city. Tokyo's in this state right now. It's just you get it very quickly, and that's sometimes really hard to pull off, especially if it's multicultural like that.
Yeah, 100%, because it sets the stakes. And as you're watching Godzilla, there's a sense of escalation about where you are, even geographically, and what the populations of those places are. By the end of the movie, or at least right before the end of the movie, before they're out in the water, he goes from that village all the way to Tokyo, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like he's just leaving a path of carnage and destruction as he makes his way towards Tokyo.
Right.
And it's like you said, it's cool because it gives the movie a sense of pace, a sense of tension. Oh my god, it's getting worse. He's doing more bad things. He's destroying more shit. And it just works really, really well. It's just really, really well done. Ishiro Honda, I have it on good authority. I'm officially going to give you the Zoobox Goes to the Movies Academy Award for Cool Guy Director. Okay?
Yes.
Let's dig up his bones and give it to him. He's going to want this. He's going to want to take this into the afterlife.
I got to say, by the way, my secret MVP has to just, if I'm really just being honest, it's got to be Haruo Nakajima, I guess, just in the Godzilla suit.
Sure, you know what? I respect that. That's a solid pull, dude. No, that's a good pull. No, that's the real answer too. Good for you, Jeremy. That's the right answer.
Thanks. I'm gonna give myself a big pat on the back for that.
Hey, listen, we watched some of the footage of that attack scene. I mean, that's a performance. Mm-hmm. It is not nothing. It's not nothing.
I mean, who knows how well he could have even seen what was going on during all of that too.
Nothing.
His wails, his cries for help. Get me out of this thing.
Yeah,
and everyone's "Oh, this looks great. This looks great. Keep doing it. Keep doing it."
The sound of Godzilla's roaring is just him dying in the suit. They just recorded it, and it's just muffled because it's in a suit, and that's what gives it that weird sound. I think it's a combination of it's 10 different animals stuffed together, but it's got this weird, almost mechanical sound to it that just gives me the creeps.
Well, it was partly supposed to be I believe it was reported at the one of the original sound cuts was a weird backwards strum of not a cello strung being strung.
Oh yeah, I can. Yeah. You can hear that actually.
Yeah,
yes.
they rubbed it with some metal or something. I can't remember how they first did, but it was an original sound design that was more mechanical, and then turned into this. Again, there's nothing like it. Not at the time, and still not even today. It's such a cool sound.
No, it's super unique, and I love it in the context of this movie. Like I said, I understand that it becomes kind of an iconic sound that makes you feel warm inside. But in the context of the 1954 movie, that's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Imagine being that guy, that fisher, people on these island villages and shit, and just hear that, and you're like, what the fuck? What the hell is that? And I don't know if there's been a Godzilla movie that's really made me feel that way again. Except for maybe -1.
Yeah.
Obviously. Outside of -1. They tried to with the 2014 one, the Gareth Edwards one. They tried to give Godzilla some gravity and make him scary. Mm-hmm. they gave it a shot, and I think I'm not an apologist of that movie, but I don't hate it. I think
there's
it's
a couple
okay.
points where it is almost effective, even if it's just for a couple short moments. I do like the parachuting sequence into
Yeah,
the
I was
fog.
actually just going to bring that up. Yeah,
like that's one of the few times where Gareth Edwards, like, he knows what he's doing, like, really well there, and you really feel like you are in that POV of that of.
and it gave Aaron Johnson.
Aaron
I
Johnson,
think, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and it gives you the sense of scale of Godzilla, which is weird, which is a problem the legendary movies have had. Like, he's all different sizes in every movie for whatever they need him to be. And I think even in the same movie, like he will be like oddly different sizes. Like he's fighting King Kong. Like, King Kong is not as big as Godzilla, but he is now. But anyways. Yeah, no, he has a knack for that. Like, if you go back and watch kind of the movie that got him the job was Monsters. You ever see that?
Yes. Yep.
Scoot McNairy, I believe, is like the lead in that movie. It's like he made that movie for very little money, like $100,000 or something. And he kind of gets Godzilla because it was a very in fashion at the time was to give guys that had directed one low budget indie giant tent poles, because they're like, well, they'll bring their cred to it. They'll bring, man, those machines swallow those dudes up.
Which you can tell that movie is very independent, but like you would never guess like how low budget that was, because it actually does.
No, he sells it really well.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's all about how, and he kind of does the same thing, and they did the same thing in King of the Monsters. Is that he understands like how to hide the CG amongst kind of atmosphere and smoke and using draw distance and all sorts of little tricks to kind of mask it.
Yeah.
And for the most part, he does a pretty good job, honestly. I mean, I watched Godzilla 2014 not even that long ago, and I was actually kind of surprised how much I enjoyed it. Because I remembered like kind of thinking it was boring, and then coming back to it, me and Foster wanted to watch it. So we watched it, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually like this is not awful." It's a little bit more thoughtful. It's trying to be more in line with something like the 1954 movie, where it is very serious, and it has a weight to Godzilla. It has a weight to the notion of kind of just like nuclear testing in general, like of what it's kind of about. It just doesn't have the gumption to actually just make the movie about that, though. So they just kind of stick to the human drama, and that's kind of the subtext of the movie is like, don't abandon your family for your own whims. Like, that's kind of what the message of the movie is. And monsters fighting at the end.
I'll be honest, though, I don't care for Ken Watanabe in those movies. When he
them
died,
fight.
I was just like, yeah, whatever.
How dare you, Jeremy? He's just like Dr. Serizawa. He bravely sacrifices himself to juice up Godzilla.
He was the token actor to be there to explain things because we needed like some Asian representation.
Kind of. It's him and the French woman.
Yeah, yeah.
His partner. She's not a bad actress. She's the fish fucker from Shape of Water.
Right.
Yeah, the fish fucker. That's what we call her.
The mute fish fucker. Yeah.
All right. So what do you have? I'm sorry.
We didn't. If we're kind of getting to closing remarks here, we didn't talk about the music at all yet, too.
Oh shit! Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah,
you're right. We got to talk about the music. Iconic.
Such a fun rhythm, but also not. I mean, also just kind of gets you just energized and also feel like your life is being threatened like before your eyes when you hear it.
It's like almost like adventure movie music.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it has that, like you said, it has that building rhythm and pace, and also incorporating the Godzilla roar into the soundtrack. I think was a masterstroke. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, let me get this up and going here.
But also, it's a mostly musicless film when you really
for the most
break it
part,
down.
yeah. No, even all the cues and stuff are very short.
Yeah.
The longest one is, I think, the main theme. It's 2 minutes 11 seconds. Oh yeah. Yeah. Japan. You can still hear it, right?
Yeah.
This is what plays over the opening credits. like, imagine if you had never, you were 1954, you're a little Japanese kid.
You were
in the
shitting
theater.
your pants.
You're in the theater and you hear this. And they faked me out.
Yoshi with his spin top hat and big lollipop is about to see Godzilla, and he's freaking out.
He's freaking out right now. He's terrified. He's hiding inside his father's suit jacket.
Yeah.
Because people used to dress up when they went to the movies back in the day.
Right.
I can't even tell you how many times I hear this in my house. Because we have, I gotta say it quietly, we have Alexas in our house. And at any moment, my son will just run into a room and be like, play the main Godzilla 1954 theme. Like it's like hero music.
Yeah.
You know? Who is this for? Is this for Godzilla? Or is this for the people?
It's for me.
Do you know who the composer is?
I feel like I should know because I use this a lot too.
I know. Oh, Akira Ifukube. Yeah, I definitely did not know that. I was about to say I know the name. I was like, no, I don't. I don't know that name at all. Yeah, unfortunately, he passed away in 2006 at 91 years old.
At least he got to live past the Millennium era to see that come to a close.
I wonder if he worked on any of it. He might have. They dragged these legacy guys back.
Yeah.
No, most of it's just stock music. Most of his credits are people that using the Godzilla theme. But yeah, he mostly seems like he worked mostly on Godzilla movies up until near his death. He worked on Godzilla versus Destroya as like one of his first his last scores. Which Godzilla versus Destroya is a pretty good Godzilla movie.
Yeah, that's a brutal of the monsters, I would say. Like, I love that design on he's practically like the devil in that one.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Is that is the which one am I thinking of? Am I thinking of the right? Is the Destroyer the one where he turns into like Fire Godzilla? Like, no, that's not that one, is it?
No. Oh. Well, there's the
Is that the Millennia era King Ghidorah movie?
I think that's that one. But I don't now. I feel like we're swaying the fans of Zoobox into thinking that we should know this.
No, I mean, well, it's like, listen, they all kind of blend together. At least for me, they do. I'll be real with you. A lot of them blend together. I don't know sometimes which one is which because we just watch them. I just see parts of them all the time because they're always like on. Like, it's really not that weird for us to be like, I don't know what to do.
I definitely get a lot of any of the ones that feature Mothra, like time and time again. I definitely get those mixed up all the time because they're almost kind of interchangeable.
Well, because Mothra does the same fucking thing in every movie.
Yeah.
Actually, Ishiro Honda directed the original Mothra movie, and he directed Mothra versus Godzilla, which is actually very good. But the Mothra movie is actually awesome if you've never seen it. I don't know if you've ever seen just the standalone Mothra movie.
Just scenes from it. I've never actually watched it in full.
And I have the Millennium era Mothra trilogy, but I have not watched it yet. We got into Gamera for a short period of time too. Do you know what Gamera is? The flying fighting turtle.
I've got an 8 movie pack DVD that I still haven't even opened of just Gamera. And the one gimmick I remember is just like there's always like 5 like 10-year-old, 8-year-old boys just like running beside him going Gamera, 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 just like cheering his name.
I mean, it's probably annoying people that keep talking about my kids, but like my son Foster, he used to run around and sing the song because we watched one of the ones with the school kids.
Yeah.
And where, Gamera's like a hero at this point.
Right.
And they all sing him a song to like give him strength. Gamera, Gamera, Gamera. My son does that. It's awesome. He actually has a Gamera toy that he goes around the house saying Gamera, Gamera.
Yeah.
Actually, have you ever seen the Heisei or Millennium era? I guess Heisei era.
Yes.
Is Gamera movies.
They're
very dark. They're very serious.
dark.
Actually.
Yeah, right. It's not. They kind of like veer away from him like shooting like rainbows from his ass and everything. Right.
Yeah. No. It's kind of trying to harken back to kind of the more serious kaiju stuff.
Yeah.
It's still goofy. It's still goofy science fiction, but they were like. I mean, the Heisei era of Godzilla into the Millennium era is a lot more serious. I mean, those movies basically from 85 to 1997 or whatever, which is the Heisei era, they're pretty serious, pretty dark movies.
I was going to say, like, they're murkier, the sky's red, everything's just, like, a lot more...
nihilistic. Like, there's something, like, kind of depressing about them.
Right.
You ever see, like, Godzilla versus Biollante?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like fighting the monster from Little Shop of Horrors. he's was Sydney or Seymour? No, not Seymour. Wow, it's late. Anyways.
Yeah.
Seymour's the guy. No, I'm sorry. Lucille. Was it Lucille? We'll say that.
Yeah.
I haven't watched Little Shop of Horrors in a long time. Jesus Christ. But yeah, that one's a lot of fun. Do you have any other favorite, like, if you have your go-to when you think of Godzilla in your mind, outside of 1954, outside of Shin, outside of -1? Because I think we've pretty much established those are the best. Those are the truly good ones, right?
Right.
Do you have a favorite that you will return to?
Yeah, it's right here, actually.
Roland Emmerich's 1998 masterpiece.
But I and you know what, as a Zilla movie, I do just like that on its own. It's just a weird hallmark of the time.
That's nostalgia talking, Jeremy. I'm telling you, I've tried, dude. Actually, if people really want to know how I feel, I think there's like a 25-minute, like off the cuff review I did of it like years ago.
Yeah.
When somebody requested it, so I watched it and I rewatched it and I with a critical eye and I wasn't super stoked about it. Honestly, it's not even that it's a bad movie. It's just kind of bloated and kind of boring to me. But I feel that way about a lot of Roland Emmerich movies. But I do appreciate that it's full of Simpsons actors and stuff. Like, it's just like got the weirdest cast. It's kind of a wacky story. I wish there was more Godzilla.
Yep.
But dude, they really should have cut like 30 minutes out of that movie. I don't know why that movie's like 2.5 hours long. That's crazy.
It's a lot of just like, and it's not even like interesting human.
No, it's like sitcom drama stuff. It's like it could be a fucking side episode of Friends with Godzilla in it for like the first hour.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even mind Matthew Broderick that much. Like he doesn't bother me. It's just something about that movie is just so it's like oddly sloppy. It's just so unwieldy. But gotta respect it for what it is. And if that's the Godzilla movie you go to, I mean.
No, I was gonna say, like, for some classic ones on the side. You already brought up Return of Godzilla. I go back to a lot, or every once in a while.
Yeah, that one's actually really good.
Yeah,
you trick him into the volcano at the end.
Yeah, and even the goofier scenes, like when he's like chasing like the homeless guy or whatever, who's like trying to eat like this like 5-star meal for himself. It's still fun and charming in its own way.
It's good, yeah. No, that is funny as hell. And I do respect that Roland Emmerich had a little bit of that. Like, he has some of that stuff in his movie too.
Yeah.
Like the goofy, like regular guy. Like, is there actually? I know in one of the Heisei era movies, there's literally like a guy on a dock, and then Godzilla comes and like destroys the dock, and he's like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Because they were playing with like different tropes. Like, okay, Godzilla's not the only thing. Like, there's something else supernatural here at work too that's gonna come into play later. It's called Evolving the World. Building on the World. Yeah,
building it, man. We got our universe to make movies in.
Yeah, I'd say from the Showa era, Destroy All Monsters is probably one I would go back to.
Yep.
And then Millennium era, I got to go with Final Wars still. So can't help it.
What would I say? I think Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla is a banger. The ending fight between Mechagodzilla and King Caesar and Godzilla is probably my favorite of that whole era, like the Showa era sequences. I just love it. I don't know why. I've watched it a million times. Foster and I watch it on its own. it's like the Kino channel or whatever it was from like 20 years ago still has their old version of it up. What else? I would say Invasion of the Astro Monsters is one I revisited like a couple months ago. That's that's actually was way better than I remembered it being. And for the Heisei era, I would probably go with Godzilla versus Destroya is definitely up there.
Yeah.
I kind
that
of
would
like
be on my list too. Yeah.
Godzilla versus Space Godzilla because that's such a silly movie. That's the one that's got like the little like Tinkerbell girls.
Oh right, yeah.
The aliens. It's like a very weird. It's very convoluted.
They're like space fairies. Yeah.
And then I guess this is a Millennia era one. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, I think is excellent. So much fun. That has some really great fights in it. Yeah, and Foster and I actually saw that in the theater when they re-released it.
You know, it's funny that like King Ghidorah is always like heralded as like Godzilla's like main foe, but the more you break it down, like Mechagodzilla seems to be like the real.
He is the real one,
underrated champ, I think here.
I mean, Ghidorah is cool. Like, don't get me wrong. I think the old like Ghidorah and the older movies, like Invasion of the Astro Monsters, and even the Godzilla versus King Ghidorah Heisei one is pretty good. Like, it's a pretty good one. Yeah. I just don't revisit it as much. I don't know. There's something like I just don't. There's something kind of that one kind of gets lost in the mix.
Yeah,
where I have a hard time remembering like what part is from what movie sometimes.
Right.
But you know, I guess that kind of goes with the territory with these movies because there's a lot of this stuff where they are a little interchangeable. Like in some ways, that's not even a knock against them. It's just a very specific thing, a very specific genre of thing.
Yeah.
And they have kind of an architecture of how they make them. Like the Showa era, that's a very definite style.
Yeah.
And they all fall into that style. They all fall into the same kind of pacing. They all fall into the same kind of structure. And I would say the same thing for the Heisei era and then the same thing for the Millennia era. They kind of just have their own tones and their own vibes. And it's easy to kind of forget which one, or to remember. It's easy to forget which one goes with which. At least for me it is anyways.
Yeah.
I could be an old man. Now you do have one more personal anecdote though, Jeremy. You're not going to get away with not telling people about this. So you said something about a high school mascot.
Oh yeah.
There he is.
Sorry, elementary school mascot.
Elementary school mascot. Yeah. My apologies. Yeah. So what was the deal with this? Tell me about it.
I'll say because it's not really around anymore. I went to Matthews Elementary School in Austin, Texas. This is still the same location, I think, in this image, but we had a untrademarked, essentially green Godzilla mascot. I mean, we were all calling it Godzilla, and I don't know how our poor elementary school at the time was able to even like afford that kind of look, but it was the most badass thing ever. You can at least find pictures, I think, of somebody dressed up as Godzilla. I like one of their old like October like field events or whatnot. And then like a certain point, I mean this is so long past me now, but you know, because I'm not even living around that area, but some person who took over, some member of the school board thought I guess Godzilla was too scary, too frightening, so they replaced it with that.
Oh, was it because they thought they were going to get sued or something? Because Toho is very litigious.
It could have been that as well.
Like Toho is like litigious in the way that more litigious than like Disney.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what Disney does when they find out schools play Disney movies? They try to sue them, and then they will like want money.
Yeah, like just like
it's kind of like
play like a videotape of like
the fucking kid that wanted Spider-Man on his gravestone, and Disney said no. Or it was one of the Marvel characters they own. I thought it was Spider-Man, and Marvel or Disney was like no. On a kid like he was like 10 years old. He died of like leukemia.
Jeez.
Like what the fuck? Really, guys?
Disney's like, unlike you, Spider-Man lives on.
If this kid gets to have Spider-Man on his gravestones, that means all these other sick kids will want Disney characters on their gravestones, and every graveyard will just look like an amusement park, and people will be confused. People will be confused. This is not the greatest place on earth. This is the graveyard, guys. But anyways,
we didn't. I guess we did that at the beginning, but we didn't do our like classic rate the female character in the movie.
The female character,
Amiko.
That's true. We did not talk about Amiko. Amiko's she's a cutie pie. What are you talking about?
She's cutie. I liked her.
I do. Listen, I'm a good old fashioned Western American nerd. Like I'm okay with some Japanese strange. In fact, you could even say that it's preferable to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I hadn't met my wife, I might be looking for a Japanese woman right now. Okay? I probably would.
Yeah.
They seem like nice ladies. You know, just don't get in a fight with them because they all know martial arts.
Right. Right.
That's part of their culture over there.
Some of her acting, by the way, is a little.
She's probably the weakest link. Yeah,
she's a little bit. I hate to say that, but like her character comes off like very just either it's like just PTSD or she's bipolar or something because she'll like try to like sometimes get into a grin when she's supposed to be like really sad.
Yeah, no, that's definitely like I think a limited ability. I mean, you gotta like I mean, maybe that's just the stable of actors Toho had at the time. I don't know.
I guess so. Yeah.
Everybody's a little broad. It's
right.
part of it is kind of the style of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think obviously a lot of the other actors just kind of handle the material better. It's kind of like watching Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen in those Star Wars prequels. You have Ewan McGregor, who's clearly a better actor than Hayden Christensen, even though like the dialogue and the script is awful. He just kind of knows how to handle it.
Right.
And Hayden Christensen doesn't. Like he doesn't know how to say those lines convincingly. He just doesn't have it in him. You know what I mean? His instrument is not as refined. And that's probably something to the effect of what was going on, I imagine, with these performers, right?
Yeah.
Although, I mean, it's treated like we said, it's treated like a serious drama. So it's not exactly like they're mugging or doing anything like that. Like it's pretty straightforward, serious social drama.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so I can overlook like things like that because at the end of the day, that's where its heart is set. I've got to ask you, by the way, because this is my favorite quote from the movie, said by the professor. Godzilla was baptized in the fire of the H-bomb and survived. I want to ask you, Shaun, what voice you put on for your kid when you had to read that line.
I was doing like a silly old man voice.
Okay.
I think I did something to the effect that Godzilla was baptized in the fire of the H-bomb. Probably something like a little Japanese man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think I kind of went to my anime knowledge
right.
of how anime characters are dubbed.
You didn't go full Master Splinter or anything.
No, I didn't go full Master Splinter. I guess I could have, you know, if I really wanted to lay it on. But it was, you know, it was like 3:00 in the afternoon. It's not exactly theater time, you know.
Right. You found a Kung Pao in between, I think. Yeah.
Actually, honestly, that's kind of what I was doing, like Kung Pao voices. Yeah, that was funny.
Oh, there's got to be a terrible dub out there of.
I thought about doing
54.
it. I thought about doing it because, you know, there is no English dub of the original movie.
Yeah, that's right.
If you want to watch a dub version, you have to watch the American release, which is the highly compromised Godzilla King of the Monsters, the Raymond Burr movie. But yeah, there is no dub of it. And I thought, I seriously, when I was doing it on the couch, I was like, oh, I could do this. I don't know where I would put it, like what I would do it for. But it might be just kind of funny to just do my own sound design for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. When would I have the time? It's like I would love to take all that Emmy Joy footage and cut a horror movie out of it.
Right.
When am I going to have the time to do that? You know, it'd take me 6 years.
Emmy Joy, since she's getting back into the movie review grind, check out Godzilla if you're listening or watching.
Yeah, we should get Emmy Joy on to talk about a Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Like, yo, come on, Emmy. We'll do the Biolante one. because that one's like, I'm sure she'd like the flowers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's about opening up your chakra and everything. She'd get something out of that.
I think she would. You know what? And Emmy Joy seems like the kind of person that would be open to it. She's open to new experiences. We all know this. Okay? Our beautiful Emmy Joy. Just don't sign up for her program. It seems like it might be a scam.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. But anyways, well, I mean, I've exhausted all my notes and stuff.
Yeah, same here.
I don't know if you have any final words you want to leave everybody with about Godzilla 1954.
I will
go check it out.
Check it out, but I'm just saying, get this in your collection on VHS. If you haven't yet, you could win a Godzilla flashlight. Just saying.
Which you could do lots of things with. We're not here to tell you what to do with it, but there's lots of applications for that.
Yeah.
Lots of them. I would say, listen, if you've never seen this movie, definitely give it a chance and understand that it is not like most Godzilla movies. And go in with that mindset. Don't go in expecting or wanting it to be something that it's not. It's like actually a fairly serious, fairly grounded meditation on responsibility and country and mourning. And it's really cool. It's really something special. And obviously everybody knows that because it spawned, the franchise that it ended up spawning. But it's really interesting to go back to see where it started and just see how deathly serious it was and how well executed it is. And how, in my opinion, a lot of it holds up to this day. Like I'm serious. Like the Godzilla attack on Tokyo is one of my favorite sequences of anything. It's gorgeous. Yeah. It's terrifying. It's unique. It's
grandiose. It's epic. Yeah,
it is. But it really is, and it's something really special, and it really kind of drags you into that like emotional reality of watching something like that happen. And I really loved it, and the actors like deliver on kind of selling that reality.
Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely check out Godzilla 1954. And so we're going to be back in 2 weeks. The movie we're going to be talking about is Jeremy's pick this time. We're going to be talking about Curtis Hanson's L.A. Confidential. I almost said L.A. Noire. But L.A. Confidential, which I'm sure we will talk about L.A. Noire when we talk about L.A. Confidential. Yeah, that's going to be a good time. I'm really looking forward to revisiting that. I actually haven't watched it in a couple of years, so it should be a good revisit. Should be a good conversation. That's another one that I have a very kind of deep personal history with. Because I watched first. I was a weird kid, guys. Like I was 12 years old when that movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
Totally owned it. I owned the VHS. I used to watch it all the time.
My parents had the VHS. That's how I first watched it too.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So we'll have a lot of cool stuff to talk about from that perspective. But anyways, thanks again, Jeremy. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Tune into, I don't know how many the viewers tuning in watch Godzilla, but yeah, check this out. I have the same, couldn't have said better myself. Yep.
So Jeremy, all Jeremy's information will be in the description of the clipped versions of these, but it's pretty much at Jeremobie for most things, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so
or
if you guys,
Tough Turf Spader in some spots, because
yes, but I think if you look up at Jeremobie, that comes up. So you can find us on X, you can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Facebook. The next episode of Nightcap is going to be this coming Tuesday. I actually have a guest coming, kind of a la Jeremy, where we're going to be focusing on one singular character. And actually, funnily enough, it's a person your age that's also a Mormon. I can't get rid of you guys. You guys are everywhere. You're all over my life. Prophet was fucking raised Mormon. You're Mormon. Taylor's Mormon. Taylor Schnell is going to be joining us, everybody. He is somebody I've known since he was a kid. Well, known. I can't say I haven't known him, but I met him when he was a young kid. Nothing weird, even though it was over the internet. It's going to sound weird. We'll talk about it then. It's going to be fun. We're going to be looking at Cobra JFS. Is that the guy's name? King Cobra JFS? I can never remember his name. He's an online weirdo. We're going to have an all online weirdo night. And that's going to be a lot of fun.
Excellent.
So enjoy that. Anyways, goodbye, everybody. I'm not even going to play anything. No outro music, nothing fancy. We're just ending the stream.
Peace.
Goodbye.